going on, everybody? Thank you for being here with us today, Tuesday, the 24th of July, 2018. This is Let the Madness Begin, LTMB Live. I'm Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White. What's
up?
What's
going on, man? Hope everybody had a good weekend. It's been another 5 days since we aired last. We have much to get to, but we're going to wait just a few moments so that we can get more people in to join us for the broadcast. We see a few people have already joined us. So we will begin in just a few moments. If you have not already subscribed to the channel on YouTube, please do so now. And please click the notification bell so you can get all the latest content from LTMB. Hope my voice is okay, man. You just came back from the basketball game, man.
Oh, yeah, man. We got to
pretty
much yell at them kids, man.
Man, yo, just quickly, like I said, we'll wait for some people to come in. This was chaos. So I think I told you, remember when you're playing on defense, they have to have the kids stay in the box, in the paint area. Now I understand why. The ref that was, reffing the game today, he didn't follow those rules. So it was chaos. Everybody was out of bounds. There were no out of bounds calls. It was like WWE mixed with basketball, man. It was chaos out there.
Like
man.
Demolition Derby?
Yes, man. Muzz getting bodied and elbowed and, Muzz on it was crazy, man. It was crazy. I am a proponent of them staying in the box now. I didn't know I was. But after seeing this now,
you understand why that rule was put in place.
Boy, they got to stay in the box. They got to stay in the box, man. It's crazy, man. What's going on, people on Facebook? YouTube, man. Hold up. You know what? I think I know what's going on. See, I was doing some testing. I know what's going on. There we go. All right, now we on for real. What's going on, everybody on YouTube? This is Let the Madness Begin, LTMB Live.
The second go round.
So you didn't see the first go round. See, we were on private. See, we were doing some testing over the weekend. Had it on private, so you couldn't see anything. So we've been just talking to ourselves for like 5 minutes, or we've been talking to the Facebook crowd as well. But again, my name is Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
My man, I believe everything should be good on YouTube. Like I said, we'll see if these numbers change and if people can see us. Okay, all right, there we go.
I don't know how that one person found us, unless that one person is us.
Yeah, it was us, yeah. All right, yeah. So, like I said, we're just talking among ourselves and on Facebook as well. Like I said, man, I think I need some water already, man. I've been yelling at, came back from the basketball game, so
you've been running after and yelling at pre-adolescents.
Hell yeah. I think I need to put some honey in my throat or something like that before the show or something. Some tea. What you got, man? What you think? Some throat soothers.
Yeah, probably like some tea, but maybe like with some kind of milk.
Some milking or something like that.
Like to coat it, you know what I'm saying? And make sure you probably keep drinking water during the jump.
Yeah.
So
I don't drink
because so it don't get all tired out and dried out.
See, I think my wife always has water for me too, but I don't be thinking about it.
Or something, you know what I'm saying?
I don't be thinking about it. I'll just be focused on the game, man. Anyway, we got lots to talk about, man. It's already 8:11. I think we're going to get to stepping. Let me see. The nose situation. She
didn't even let that go, man.
You still talking about the nose? See, we let that go.
That was like 5 days ago, Moose.
See,
that was like 5 days ago.
We good. All right.
They gonna keep it going.
We good.
And then, of course,
I know they are.
You know what's gonna happen if L Train come up in here?
I know it, man.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, we good though. We good. All right, so let's just get started. I'm sure more people will join us along the way. So everybody remember, I believe this was in May at Yale University. Remember napping while black, hashtag napping while black. The white woman who had been identified as Sarah Brash, she called the cops on a fellow black student that was napping in the common room. And the cops came and they spent about 15 minutes trying to verify who the black student was, and it was, the black student was videoing it. So we had video evidence of what was going on. Poor Sarah Brash. After the incident, I believe she left Yale University. I had seen some reports about that she actually left the university, and she also deleted all her social media accounts. But seems like she reactivated the Twitter account, at least for a second. And recently, when was this? This was on the 18th, so it was just last week. She said, "I literally had to flee Yale's campus and go into hiding for my safety. And I'm a lifelong and proud human rights and civil rights activist who has devoted her life to social justice." I believe the tweet before that, she said, "You can't imagine the pain of having everything you've worked for your entire life ripped from you in a matter of moments when you've done absolutely nothing wrong. All I ever wanted to do with my life is help people and make the world a better place. My life is over."
Okay, so she's all about like
I feel the pain,
social justice, social activism, meaning like she devotes her life to understanding the human condition and relating to people. Why the hell didn't she just wake the woman up herself? She's making it like,
be considerate.
Exactly. It's like if she is about that, which she very well may be, you can be about all those things she mentioned, but still have your own kind of personal faults. So all that doesn't matter. But if she was about that life, why didn't she just do the simple thing and wake the girl up?
Or there was another thing she could have done.
Just mind her own
damn business. That was the simple thing that she could have done. Just
mind your business. Just
mind your business. Exactly.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah. Mind your business.
That's all she had to do, but she didn't. So now she's feeling victimized. Now my life, I had to run away from the campus.
She dropped out, ran away. I guess temporarily disabled some of her social media accounts until. What was the 18th?
Yeah, just last week.
She came on to just be a victim.
Oh, yes.
That's the only reason why she came on.
It's the only reason to be like, poor me.
Came on to be a victim. She was afraid for her life, and she had to run away.
I don't think anybody's feeling sorry for this woman. Again, you're not a victim. You're not a sympathetic figure.
She's like detaching herself from her actions.
I did nothing wrong. She said I did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong.
And like, I hope she is not involved in social justice, because this is not the type of person that you would want involved in social justice if they can approach their own situation with like some sort of self-reflection. But she expects the world to do what she can't do in her own situation, in her own life.
That's what we used to do in the 90s.
And we used to like put it on people.
Forgot about that part. That was like supreme disrespect.
When, like, your friend do something whack, you be like, bruh, like you getting it on his shoulder. Man, Neil used to do that junk all
the time, man. Right on the head.
Right on the head, man.
Anyway, all right. This weekend was the Ozzy Fest. Ozzy Fest. I think it's Ozzy Fest, Ozzy Fest. I think it's Ozzy Fest. And it's a political festival. It's in New York City. I believe this was happening in Central Park. And there were many figures that had spoke, for this event. Very, public figures. I'm getting around to saying.
I know you. I know you're trying to avoid to mention the elephant, well, donkey in the room.
Yeah,
it's not elephant.
Nah,
it's
the donkey.
It's the big donkey in the room.
Hillary Clinton, man.
It was like a lot of people there. Yeah, there was a lot of different.
But it's like she made the event that much more toxic. If it was toxic, I don't even know if it was toxic to begin with. Of course, they had some politicians that were speaking, so of course, some establishment politicians, yeah. But when you bring Hillary Clinton in the environment, it's like you tainted the whole event.
You suck all the air out, man.
And she was talking about Russia. She was talking about how Trump dealt with Putin. And it's like, I don't want to hear from you. It's like, it's too soon. Okay, you need to go away. I know she's not gonna take my advice, but it's still too soon. It's 2018. You're toxic. It's like, I think you're always gonna be toxic because you're that corrupt of an individual, and I don't believe she's ever going to change. So any year that she's out there and mixing it up with the public is a bad look. And I think still, it's just too soon.
You know what? I think what also kind of adds to the situation of her being there is she can't turn it off. Yeah. She can't turn it off. You know what? If she would just turn it off for a second and just try to be a normal person. She is still out here campaigning. I'm like, bitch, you lost. I'm like, you lost. I'm like, you see what I'm saying? You're still out there campaigning. Like she's always going to be a politician, so I know that's going to be the first inclination she has is to talk about politics. But, like, you lost. And you can't come out and make a public appearance kind of with that same kind of mode. You know what I'm saying? In the same kind of mode. Like, at least, like, try to be a person for once.
Barack Obama was the former president, and you don't really hear too much from him.
He does speeches now.
He does some speeches.
I think I saw him doing like some sort.
He was in Africa just recently.
Yeah. Was it was it South Africa or was it something
I'm
else?
Not sure where.
But I saw that speech.
But still,
he was talking about greed and stuff like that.
But still, he's making less waves than Hillary Clinton is. Yeah, like. Yo, fade away. Just fade away, man. But anyway, there was one panel, and it was comprised of Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Chelsea Handler, and Anna Kasparian from TYT, the Young Turks. And I saw most of it. And it's this thing that, man, if you really didn't pay attention, if you didn't really dive into a candidate or, a politician's background, you could really get sucked into, the kind of things that they're saying. Gillibrand had some really good things to say. And all in all, it was a very good performance. She had nothing but good things to say. But then, like, when you dive into her background, it gets complicated. Anna Kasparian, she actually asked her a question about her prior days as a politician and when she was like a member of the Blue Dogs. And that's a conservative kind of group, or it's. I mean, I don't know if it's a actual, official group or anything like that, but it's a centrist group. It's a conservative group of Democrats.
It's almost like a well-known label that certain Democrats have. It's not like, I don't think it's like a particular. They don't have like a Blue Dog pack.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But we're not sure though. Yeah, I don't know.
They may have one.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, she doesn't really rep that anymore, right? So now she's like, she looks like a progressive. What comes out of her mouth is a progressive, and it seems to be like the change happened when she got to the Senate. So then when you think about it, you're like, hold on, okay. So she used to represent upstate New York, okay? Right. And the district that she was representative was like a conservative district. It's not in the city. So she had all these kind of conservative positions. Then when she started representing the whole state of New York, of course you have to represent the biggest, like, state. Yeah, I mean, like the biggest part of New York, population-wise, which is the city, New York City, 8 million people or so. So now you take on more of a progressive outlook. You have progressive viewpoints. It's like, are you real? Like, are you real, or are you just doing this because
that's kind of like that's the typical pathway most politicians take when they understand that their plate has gotten bigger.
You have to understand what your constituency is, I guess, all about, and what they want to see from their politicians, from their representatives. And it's like, okay, I can't use this conservative kind of rhetoric anymore. I'm a progressive, and it's like,
So you think it's more of like kind
political
of like
expediency, man?
A superficial change?
I think I don't know who she is.
Just a language change.
If you
maybe
people can change. People can change. I'm not saying that people can't go from conservative to progressive. I'm not saying that. But it's just like when you see her track record, like I said, I think the change came when she made the move to the Senate. So it's like,
oh, you think that she kind of like traveled to another position, a higher position, but she still carried that baggage?
I don't know.
She made a trip, but you know she didn't.
She changed.
They leave that baggage behind.
I don't know. How would you know? Like, how would you know who the real her is? It just seems like she changed.
Maybe she doesn't
get elected.
Maybe she doesn't even know, because maybe if you keep saying something over and over and over again, you actually believe that you are it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's all comprised as far as like someone's political persona. I don't think it's always comprised of some sort of like nefarious I don't know, some sort of nefarious like philosophy. I do think sometimes they brainwash themselves to believe that they are something that they are not, because they don't want to come to grips with the fact that they are compromised in their pockets. There's strings attached to them. And I guarantee you there's some politicians that try to fight that. You know what I'm saying? They probably want that particular part of their political life to not always be on their top of their brain when they're speaking to people about, you know, doing what's best for them. You know what I'm saying? It's probably something that haunts them. Some people ignore it, but I don't know.
All right, let's move on. In York County, Pennsylvania, a 25-year-old father of a 5-month-old, he was shot and killed outside a bar Friday night, early Saturday morning. A man named James Saylor had come inside the bar, started being loud and disruptive. He was shouting racial epithets at the man's best friend, or the man's friend, which is a black guy. The man's name is Chad Merrill. So pretty quickly the bar kicked him out because they didn't want to have any of that. Like I said, he was loud, he was being disruptive, so they kicked him out. So what happened after that is that Chad Merrill left the bar, obviously because he was perturbed about what happened and the comments that was being made towards his friend who was black. So he left the bar, he walked outside to the parking lot, and I guess he tried to confront him. The man, James Saylor, was in his vehicle at the time, and once Chad Merrill got about 2 feet away, James Saylor had a gun and he shot through his windshield and struck him in the chest. So he died a short time later. James Saylor, he was apprehended sometime later, and he was arrested and charged with criminal homicide. So the moral of this story is
you just never know who you're dealing with.
You
never know who you're dealing with. Like I've never been one to try to be like this superhero moral crusader when something's going down and try to track people down, or try to step in and try to be some sort of like I don't know, like the moral diplomat in a situation, because you don't know people, they're strangers. You don't know like what they're capable of. I guess he felt more responsibility because he was white, and he felt that he could, I guess, be like some sort of like offer some sort of, be an intermediary.
Well, I understand, because it was personal to him, because it was being directed towards his friend, and he was right there. So I understand that people have some feelings about racism, and of course I have those same feelings. Of course I'm a opponent of racism, and you do need to call out, you know, whenever you see it, and actually try to root it out of our society, no doubt. So it's cool to protest it. It's cool to like I said, let people know how you feel about it, especially when they're displaying those kind of feelings. But this dude, James Saylor, he got what was coming to him because he got kicked out of the bar. Let it end right there. Again, I understand that this, you know, Chad Merrill, he felt it was personal, and it's such a disgusting kind of mind frame that it's like, no, I got to do something. No. Let that man be, because racism, don't let racism ruin your life. Don't let racism end your life. Like, he has a 5-month-old child. You know, it's like, I understand what was going through his mind, but don't leave the bar. Don't go confront somebody, because like Mike said, you don't know what people are capable of. You don't know if that man has a gun. You don't know what they're gonna do. So this is a sad story. This is a sad ending to somebody that just wanted to do the right thing. You know?
And like you said, he had already gotten kicked out of the bar for behaving the way he did.
Exactly.
I guess he wanted to like confront the guy to maybe, I don't know. I don't. I think
maybe he didn't even know what he was going to do.
He probably didn't. If you think about it, they were all drinking. Everybody was drinking. Maybe. And so, you know, even when you have good intentions, your decision-making skills aren't always the best when you're drinking. You see what I'm saying?
I understand.
That's that probably played a factor in it. You know what I'm saying? He probably feeling a little more loose because he was drinking. He's like, you know what? Let me confront this guy. And most likely, I can't guarantee it, but if he was sober, he probably would have like rethought that, because what is actually going to get accomplished? You see what I'm saying? Because you're not going to change somebody just by confronting them. But
like you can, I mean, it's no doubt you can understand his mentality, again, because it was personal, whether he was drinking or not. You can understand, like, if you have some deep feelings about that and it's directed at somebody you know. It's different if it's directed at somebody you don't know and you're just like taking a stance against the general idea of racism. When it's close to home, you know, your man is sitting right here and he's getting it. It's like, hell no, I'm not accepting this. But still, let it stay right there in the bar. You don't go out there and, you know, just let it stay right there. He got what was coming to him. He got what was deserved. He got kicked out the bar, man. Just let it be right there, man. Just like I said, be careful out there. Again, you can express how you feel about different things, but man, be careful out there, man.
Just pick your battles, man.
Yeah, man, straight up. All right, so there's been a lot of talk about Russia, of course. There's been a lot of talk about Russia meddling in the 2016 election, Russian interference, and Trump. You know, Trump has made a lot of, I don't know, I mean...
Interesting, I guess, to say the least. That would be kind of, I guess, putting like a silver lining around a very dark cloud, just to call it interesting.
Because he's been all over the place, you know, because he's been like, yeah, Russia meddled. What? No, Putin offered a very strong denial, you know, so I don't know. Let me take a look at the service.
Then the next day he's like, oh, I trust my intelligence.
Yeah, he's just wishy-washy. He's like, you know, he just keeps going back and forth, right? So this tweet from Donald Trump, our president, Donald Trump, earlier this morning is very interesting. President Donald Trump said on Twitter, "I'm very concerned that Russia will be fighting very hard to have an impact on the upcoming election. Based on the fact that no president has been tougher on Russia than me, they will be pushing very hard for the Democrats. They definitely don't want Trump." So see, at this point, I'm left to say, he can't be serious. He can't. This has to be trolling, because he can't be serious. There's no way that you can come off just last week, because this was earlier today, right? So this is Tuesday morning. Just over a week ago, he was in Helsinki, standing right next to Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, and saying that, well, Putin says he didn't do it, and he said it very strongly, so I'm likely to believe him until I see the servers. And now he's saying that...
But don't forget what he did afterwards now. You got to include that.
Yeah, I got to include that. Yeah, that he came around to his intelligence community, his own intelligence community.
He backpedaled. And not only did he backpedal, he made it like before the summit, he was very stern with Putin about the meddling that he said Putin didn't do.
Oh yeah,
during the joint
the CBS interview.
Yeah, the CBS interview. He claimed that before the summit started, in that little secret meeting, he, you know,
we won't have
wagged his finger.
Can't have it. Won't have it.
But even though he wagged his finger at Putin before the official joint press conference, during the official joint press conference, he was like, "Nah, I believe Putin." And obviously, after he said, he kind of reneged, he backtracked, and he said, "Oh no, I trust my intelligence, and it is his responsibility because it came from him." He made it like, well, even if Putin didn't know, it's still his responsibility. So he then kind of tried to come back into the arms of his own
intelligence community.
Emphasis on his own intelligence services, intelligence community. Now, to me, this contradicts that. If you're saying that you did not trust whatever's coming from your intelligence, the intelligence community, okay, fine. But then this tweet actually contradicts that.
Of course.
Because he is suggesting that Russia is meddling.
But it is those comments, but it's also comments he made like, you know, he thinks he has a good relationship with Putin. And Putin's own comments saying that he wanted Trump to become the president in 2016 too. And you remember he always talks about Obama, Putin didn't respect Obama, Obama was horrible, blah, blah, blah. He's going to have a better relationship with Putin. But then he's saying all these things like these tough stances that he's taken. And yeah, I mean, I've been tougher on Putin than anybody else, but I've backtracked all that toughness every single time. Like, why wouldn't Putin want Trump to be the president if he wanted Trump to be the president in 2016?
And like, didn't he say any talks of Russian meddling kind of kneecaps, or it's a you are but you already giving the side eye. Remember he said that? Remember he said this whole investigation and talks of Russian meddling is doing a disservice to the relationship the United States and Russia could possibly have. He said that.
So who's keeping this moving?
He said that at Helsinki. So looks like he's trying to kneecap his own relationship goals. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yo, this, like I said, man, he can't be serious. Remember, during the 2016 campaign, there were many times me and Mike sat up here and was like, this dude is not running for president. He can't be serious. There's no way he can be serious. So I don't know what to make of it, man. I don't know. But anyway, so let's get to some other tweets by Donald Trump. And this one was, this one was just a couple days ago. This was on the 22nd. And it seems to be that this was in response to a tweet by the Iranian president. So in a televised speech on Sunday, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani claimed that peace between the United States and Iran would be the mother of all peace, but that also war between the two would be the mother of all wars. So President Trump, obviously in response to those statements, said on Twitter, to Iranian President Rouhani, never, ever. And, Facebook is not seeing this, so we have to emphasize that this is all in caps, all in capital letters, okay? To Iranian President Rouhani, never, ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before. We are no longer a country that will stand for your demented words of violence and death. Be cautious.
I know Trump gets very easily triggered, but it seems really out of place for Trump to be so outraged at such a benign and conventional comment, because all Rouhani was saying, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, was peace is good for the both of us and war is bad for the both of us. That's pretty much all he said. He didn't
not
say
too inflammatory.
He didn't say anything about like, man, I'm gonna blow these suckers off the map. Like, that's what Trump is making it sound like he said. I mean, and here's the thing about Trump tweeting. For the most part, it's silly, and most of his tweets aren't even noteworthy, because a lot of them have to do with just kind of throwing shade at his haters, his naysayers. Yeah. That's fine. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But see, now he's kind of trying to, like, not just throw shade, but trying to, I guess, provoke leaders of other countries. See, that's when it becomes a big problem.
But see, stop right there. You saying with these words on Twitter, it seems like he's trying to provoke a leader from another country, right? Now, what ramped up tensions though? What ramped up tensions? Wasn't it just a few months ago in May when President Trump withdrew the United States from the Iran deal? The one that was negotiated under former President Barack Obama. And it wasn't just us involved. It was, who was involved? It was the European Union, Germany, China, France, the United Kingdom, Russia, all of these powers. It wasn't just about us. And what happened because of that deal? Iran got rid of their centrifuges. They poured cement inside their plutonium reactors. I believe, yeah, the plutonium reactors. They reduced their capability of getting a nuclear weapon, and that was the whole goal. And this deal would have been, or it would have stood for about 10 years, I believe. And then at the end of 10 years, likely it would have been reauthorized again. So I know there are Republicans. There were many Republicans that were like, no, this is a horrible deal, horrible deal, horrible deal. Once it was enacted, though, most of them was like, you know what? Hey, Iran is complying with the terms and of this agreement. There's no real need to withdraw ourselves from this agreement. I mean, it's not sensical. But President Trump did that anyways. So again, if he's increasing tensions, like if anybody's increasing tensions with the other, it is the United States of America. And Iran, like you were talking about this statement, it's not inflammatory, but they have said more tense things towards the United States of America. I believe it was last October. Tehran's military chief, General Mohammed al-Jafari, he said that the U.S. should move its bases out of Iran's missile range if it plans to impose sanctions on Iran again. The supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, he urged all Muslims to unite against America and its adversaries last April. So like those are actual like, yo, U.S. better watch out, we coming. Trump didn't say anything. Trump was hush mouth, didn't say not a damn word. But the president says like just some very tepid remarks,
very conventional things. Maybe he's trying to draw attention away from something else. What that something is, I don't know. I know there's a particular trial that's supposed to begin later this month. Mr. Manafort.
Yes.
So it might be trying to draw away attention from that, or from the Helsinki fallout, or whatever else. Maybe the Playboy thing.
Yeah, because it was just reported that his attorney, Michael Cohen, had secretly recorded some conversations with President Trump and has Trump on tape admitting or talking about the payment that was made to the former Playmate, Karen McDougal. So, and the FBI has those tapes as well. So, I mean, that we don't know.
And this looks very off the cuff. Trump is someone who kind of doesn't go after any kind of advice from anybody else before he tweets. And like you said, Republicans have pretty much let this go for the most part. You may see like things here and there when a Republican is trying to make a name for themselves. Kind of like the typical pathway they go about doing that is to like bash something Obama did. But for the most part, Republicans aren't treating this Iran deal as a wedge issue anymore. It's gone. So why is Trump treating it like it's some sort of fresh wedge issue? That means he is definitely doing the same thing he always does, as he tries to find certain things to deflect from his own problems. But yeah, again, it's different. It's different if it's directed at regular folk, entertainers, journalists, the media. It's still whack. Yeah. But he's just going to badmouth those who hate him again. But if it's other leaders, like Trump's temperament is definitely going to affect the level of trust other leaders have, not just for him, but however they approach the United States. You see what I'm saying? You have to kind of take that into account. And I'm not sure if you were kind of referencing the North Korea situation with him like actually exaggerating tensions, but this seems like another North Korea situation where he creates tension that's not really there and then swoops in, does like a talk and a handshake, and then takes credit for creating peace.
So it seems like he's actually learning the wrong thing from dealing with North Korea, because again, you can have all these irresponsible decisions. You can actually increase tensions with another sovereign country. Say out of this world, like I'll blow you off the map in Rocket Man. Say all these kind of things. Tweet at Iranian president, at the Iranian president in all caps, saying that you'll never ever, like you'll get what few have received throughout history from the United States of America, even though, like I said, the remarks are very tepid. So again, it does seem like he's learned the wrong thing. Like Iran is going to come to the table just like Kim Jong-il did. But it seems like he's actually believing his own hype, that the reason why Kim Jong-il, the reason why Kim Jong-un came to the table is because they felt threatened. Like they felt all shaky and scared. Like, oh, big bad Trump, he's being so mean. I'm scared. They might actually bomb us. You know what? Let me reach out a hand. I don't think that's what happened. That's not what happened with North Korea. That's not what's going to happen with Iran.
It's basically a situation where Trump is going to dismantle and defuse a bomb that he created. Like, clap, 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 clap. I mean, Rouhani is just, you know, in the gym. Rouhani is just in the gym, shooting around, minding his own business, trying to get his jump shot wet. And here Trump comes in the gym, doesn't come directly to him, really. He goes up, way up in the stands, and then starts talking junk. Man, your jump shot sucks. I'm going to dunk on you. That's what he's doing. Like, Rouhani's simply just minding his business, doing general diplomatic work, because he was talking to diplomats about his relationship with the United States. Again, he's just in the gym, trying to get his jump shot wet, practicing with his team, and here Trump come in unannounced, yelling stuff from the rafters. Like, starting stuff.
This reminds me of, back in 2003 when we went to war with Iraq. And you remember Saddam Hussein was like, yo, I ain't got nothing. Did an interview with 60 Minutes. Yo, I ain't got nothing, man. Look, I'm innocent, man. Please believe me.
How often does that happen when, like, the leader of another country is willing to do an interview with a mainstream media outlet that dispenses news to the United States and makes his case like, yo, I ain't doing nothing, dog. Ain't me, dog. I ain't got the stuff.
I ain't got nothing.
This mug is like start pulling out his pockets. Like, I ain't got nothing.
Spreading there. But look, I was getting too graphic. Dave Chappelle in here. But anyway, it's reminiscent of that, because George Bush was like, forget that. I don't care. We're coming to bomb you. Get out of your country. You got 48 hours. Get out your country.
Made me think about that Dave Chappelle episode with the yellow cake. I know. You know, oil. But no, like, Trump is acting like that old dude. Like, get off my grass. Yeah, man. Yelling at kids. But guess what? There's nobody on the grass. There's nobody on the grass.
Tame comments. It didn't even seem like a threat. Like, Mike, you know, if you want to kind of like say it in a different way, he was like, yo, we could have a great relationship or we could have the worst relationship. It would be real bad for everybody. It would be really great for everybody. That's basically what he said. And Trump overreacted. Again, seems like he's trying to draw attention away from something. Could be a handful of different things. I don't know. But this isn't a normal kind of response to what Ronnie said. Yeah,
there's a difference between kind of forceful foreign policy and then yelling at people.
Yeah, man.
Like, I don't
all caps. I
don't think Trump knows the difference.
All right, let's move on. Let's see, we could do one more for Facebook here.
Give him a bonus one. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did start like 10 minutes late.
Yeah, so, we did, and they were with us.
More people at YouTube. But
that was our bad. Yeah. Let me go to the clearances.
The security clearances.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
So okay. So on Monday, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders indicated that the administration was looking into the possibility of removing some security clearances for different people. Now, this seems to be an idea that originated with Senator Rand Paul, but we're going to get to him in just a few minutes. So this is the video of Sarah Huckabee Sanders responding to a question about that.
Will the president consider Senator Paul's suggestion and call for the removal of former Director Brennan's security clearance?
Not only is the president looking to take away Brennan's security clearance, he's also looking into the clearances of Comey, Clapper, Hayden, Rice, and McCabe. The president is exploring the mechanisms to remove security clearance because they've politicized and in some cases monetized their public service and security clearances. Making baseless accusations of improper contact with Russia or being influenced by Russia against the president is extremely inappropriate, and the fact that people with security clearances are making these baseless charges provides inappropriate legitimacy to accusations with zero evidence.
So before we get into that, You heard the names. She mentioned John Brennan, who was the former CIA director. She mentioned Ed Clapper, former director of national intelligence. James Comey, former director of the FBI. Michael Hayden, former NSA director. Susan Rice, former national security advisor. And Andrew McCabe, who was the former deputy attorney general, deputy attorney general
the one
at the DOJ.
The one they pushed out.
Yes. So what's interesting about these list of names, though, is that there were 2 on that list that already have had their security clearances removed. I
was about to say, that's one way you can tell that this is, one, petty, B, like, and kind of an unwarranted move, and just B, baseless.
It was
because McCabe already lost his level of security clearance when he got fired, and then Comey as well.
Right, he was ret out when he got essentially fired.
That's how you know this is all for show. Yeah. This is not for real. This is for show.
Basically, President Trump doesn't like some things that they have been saying, especially about the whole Russia and the Helsinki summit. He doesn't like what these former members of the intelligence community had to say about him. So you know what? Give me my ball back.
But see, that the thing, it's a bunch of just cranky whining via the president. And unfortunately, Sarah Sanders has to co-sign that. But that's what it's about, because we already know that the intelligence community came to him already after he was inaugurated, because then he is allowed to see briefings and intel briefings now.
Right.
They already came to him and told him this. So if he didn't like it, right, and he hasn't liked it all the time, why haven't these security clearances been removed already? If they haven't liked the intel that he's been getting, why didn't they revoke their security clearances when they came to him? That's how you know it's him just trying to lick his wounds based on having to take it up the ass at Helsinki. And he's just trying to lick his wounds. It just doesn't make any sense, because like I just understand he doesn't agree with their assessment, so they should lose their security clearance, and it has nothing to do with how they performed on the job. You know what I'm saying? They don't like the findings. Come on.
Well, it has nothing to do with their jobs, because they don't have these jobs anymore. So it has nothing to do with their jobs. So, but this was a rare look for Sarah Huckabee Sanders, because she was asked a similar question about this again, and she had to refer back to the statement, I guess, that was provided by whoever, Trump or somebody else.
Trump didn't write that shit.
He didn't write that. Yeah. Somebody wrote this little statement for her. And she had to actually read the statement verbatim once again. So it's like she doesn't even know what's going on here.
She didn't take her eyes off of that piece of paper but twice. And it was very brief. You can tell, like, it was just, she was reading word for word, like she just saw it for the first time.
Yeah, it's like you already said this,
since it was the first time.
But like you already provided the statement to the media. Like, why are you reading it over again? You just got another question. You couldn't. Obviously, she had no idea what was going on. But anyway, like we were saying, let's get back to Rand Paul. So again, this seems to be an idea that originated with Senator Rand Paul. And on Twitter, Rand Paul said, "Is John Brennan monetizing his security clearance? Is John Brennan making millions of dollars divulging secrets to the mainstream media with his attacks on Donald Trump?" So, again, this seems that's what the reporter asked Sarah Huckabee Sanders about that, and then even later on in the day, Rand Paul had another statement on Twitter. This was obviously after a meeting that he had with Donald Trump about removing the security clearance of John Brennan, and he said, "Just got out of White House meeting with Donald Trump. I restated to him what I have said in public. John Brennan and other partisans should have their security clearances revoked." So it's like, okay, hold on. Partisans. That's an interesting word to use. I understand that some of these individuals classify themselves in one party or the other. Okay. And you could say that, okay, all these individuals, they did come from the Obama era. Let's say you put them all in the Democratic category. That's cool. Fine. But their position on an issue, why is their position on an issue partisan, especially when you can notice that there were many Republicans that had the same exact kind of response to what happened at the Helsinki summit?
That's not my question. Well, I mean,
that's one question.
That's one question. I think the major question is, how does the intel community's position on Russia have anything to do with Trump? They're telling on themselves. Rand Paul just told on himself. He mentioned that it's essentially disrespectful to Trump.
Yes.
How so? How does I guess giving information even to Trump himself about Russia, how does that have anything to do with Trump? Whatever their position is as an intel community, how does that have to do with Trump? Why is Rand Paul connecting that to Trump and making their position on Russia about Trump? Why would they do that?
Side eye, man.
But see, like, just first things first, Donald Trump gets intel briefings regularly. Like, and he's been president for a year and a half officially, almost a year and a half. So for a year and a half, he's been agreeing with what they've told him, not just in regard to this topic, but in regard to Syria. Remember, he trusted their intelligence then, as far as like offering some sort of retaliation by bombing those air bases. What about North Korea? How we find out about what they're doing with their nuclear program? That was based on the intelligence community. What about Afghanistan before he dropped the Moab, the mother of all bombs? The only reason he made the decision was because information he received from the intelligence community. And what about the fourth thing? It's probably more, but I just figure I mentioned 4, and that's counterterrorism, because he's boasted about ISIS leaders being captured. Guess who gives them the intel on that? The intelligence community. It just seems as if he conveniently dislikes whatever information they're giving him on this one particular issue. If it's matters that make him look like a hero, trust intel. If it's matters that kind of maybe bring negative attention towards him, don't trust the intel.
And Rand Paul, again, it's very interesting that Rand Paul is taking this stance, because you remember during the primaries, the Republican primaries, he was one of the main ones like going right at Donald Trump during these debates. So it's just very interesting that he's like taking up for Donald Trump right now in ways that it's like,
suspicious.
It's very suspicious. It doesn't make any sense.
Side eye activated.
Yeah. So I mean, it just seems like something else is going on that we're just not seeing right now. But anyway, Senator Rand Paul, he did appear on Fox News and was fielding some questions about this, and he said that John Brennan specifically needs to have his security clearances removed, because he pointed back to a time in 2012 when it was during the whole underwear bomber saga, right? There was an underwear bomber, and they foiled that attack, right? So he said that John Brennan, who was at the time the CIA director, he said that he had divulged some secrets to people that were not in position anymore, but they still had their security clearances. And it was one of those individuals that actually repeated this information to the media. And so the information could have put in danger somebody that was a double agent. So he's saying that John Brennan has a history of this thing, of I guess like abusing these security clearances. But I'm like, okay, hold up. If you're saying that the problem with, because this whole contention is that if these media heads, these media talking heads that are, I guess, taking in profits because of their media appearances, and they have security clearances, he says that is improper because they could be telling the media like secret things and things that will put people in harm. Tell me when John Brennan did that now.
Oh, he's saying...
Do you understand that? You would have to have some evidence that John Brennan or any of these people actually did that to come away with this position. Like, hey, you know what? And it's interesting. Okay, if in 2012 he did this, why'd you wait 6 years to say this?
Basically, if you really had a problem with it and it really rubbed you the wrong way, and it was that much of an emergency, then it does look kind of suspicious that you would wait until now.
Yes.
So
your point, you're doing it now after all of these individuals have something negative to say about Trump's performance in Helsinki.
But see, why?
Not because they actually divulged something to the media.
But see, if it's about Trump, it still doesn't make sense. It's not something that directly points to anything Rand Paul has said or done. So it just strikes me as very weird that he would offer, I was going to say passive support, but it's almost aggressive support for Trump
it's very
right now.
Aggressive. Yeah,
Again,
it's very aggressive.
Like what dog does he have in the fight? That's why it just doesn't make any sense to me.
And again, you remember the Bernie Sanders resolution from last week, and he shot that down because he said it was partisan. He said it was a symbol of Trump derangement syndrome. And it had nothing actually to do with Trump. It was all about, hey, let's let the Mueller investigation be unimpeded. Let's implement these already passed sanctions on Russia. It was nothing like partisan because the whole Senate had agreed on this. So it's
what do we?
Something's up with this dude, man.
What did we talk about before this story?
Right before this was Iran tweets. Right?
Iran tweets, and then what other tweets did we talk about?
You talking about
his Russian tweets?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Think about how that connects to this story. Actually, think about how it runs in stark contradiction to this story we're doing right now in regards to the White House threatening to revoke security clearances for members of the intel community that have a certain position on Russia. They don't agree with it, right?
Don't agree.
That's the motive behind why they think these individuals' security clearance should be revoked, right? Well, that does not make sense considering what he tweeted out this morning, which was an admission that Russia is meddling or will meddle in the upcoming elections. So
they don't go together.
They don't go near each other. They don't go anywhere near each other.
All these people that are being talked about as losing their security clearance had a problem with Trump intimating that Russia had nothing to do with it. That was the main point. That was the main criticism. But like you're saying, Trump on Twitter earlier today, this morning,
intimated
saying
his damn self.
Yeah, Trump, Russia is going to be doing something.
Do you see the problem we have here?
He's over here. He's over here. He's over here. He's over here.
So, so when somebody doesn't have any direction in life or in politics, like Trump does, Trump, you know what I'm saying? He displays that all the time. What are we left to think? Like, people are confused. So obviously people become suspicious when somebody does this. So when we're looking at this particular issue right now, what are we supposed to think viewing this from the standpoint of listening to what he has to say, what is coming out of his mouth and his actions? How can he and people who support him expect us to not see this and draw something from it? That's all we're saying. Again, we're not in the intel community. We're not directly involved in the Mueller investigation. All we know and all I know is what I've read as far as like court documents. That's it. But I do think there's a lot to be said about Trump's behavior.
He's a child.
He's a child. He's a guilty child.
Yes, and it doesn't even, whether he's guilty of anything or not, these individuals had something negative to say about Donald Trump and the way he handled himself at Helsinki. So how Trump responds to that criticism is, got your security clearances, bitch. I mean, it's like you're a baby. You're a child. You're an infant. Like, again, if the issue is that they did something, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders in that statement, she's alleging to something inappropriate. She's saying that, people, kind of monetizing their security clearances. Okay. Of course, when you have a security clearance, of course, when you have been a member of government, when you get out of the government, you may land some kind of gig on CNN or Fox News or MSNBC. Like, they're gonna want former officials in the government to respond to stories. I mean, that's just how it is. Again, you'd have to show why it's a bad idea. You'd have to show how they're being reckless as it concerns their security clearance. And they haven't shown any of that. What they've shown is that we don't like what you former intelligence community individuals say, so we're going to pull them.
I have a question for anyone who defines anything Russia as hysteria. I want to ask them a question. Who is actually creating the hysteria? This is an honest question. Who is actually keeping this in the news? And I'm not talking about Rachel Maddow or CNN. I'm just talking about, because don't get them confused with a party. They're not a political party. Yes, they kind of run interference for political parties. We can honestly say that MSNBC, especially Rachel Maddow, ran interference for Hillary Clinton, as well as CNN. And Trump gets the same benefits from Fox News. But really, who has been keeping this in the news? For the most part. Most of the people who've been keeping this in the news are people trying to undercut or throw shade at the investigation. Because for the most part, those in charge of the investigation and those who've been put in positions to, I guess, do their job have been very tight-lipped. It's when indictments occur, meaning a legal process that becomes public, in which there's a reactionary mode that one side goes into. And then when that side goes into reactionary mode, trying to undercut this investigation, what happens is the other side then has to include themselves into it to kind of diffuse what they feel is misinformation. Because for the most part, the only reason why Russia became a topic last week was why, Will? Why did Russia become a topic?
Because of the Helsinki Summit.
Because of the Helsinki Summit.
I know we weren't talking about Russia.
We weren't talking about it. And for the most part, I know people are going to be mad about this. I don't care about MSNBC. I don't care about CNN. We're talking about the Democratic Party. We're talking about the Democratic Party. After the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, am I saying that name right? The high school? Marjorie Stoneman Douglas?
Yes.
High school? What was the focus of the Democratic Party?
What was their focus?
What was their focus right after that? Were they talking about Russia?
No, they were talking about gun control.
They were talking about gun control. What about before the Tax Cut and Job Act was passed? What was the focus?
Well, I mean, they were talking about taxes.
The Tax Cut and Job Act.
They were talking about taxes. So
what about when all the teachers were striking for like a whole month? What were they talking about? And
raising wages for teachers.
Raising wages. And didn't recently they form, or some members of the Democratic Party form, a Medicare for All caucus?
They did.
They did that.
So you say that they seem to be responding to issues that are relevant at the specific time.
We're not going to like assume what their motives are behind any kind of moves they're doing right now. I'm not going to assume that. We all know that we have to keep members of the Democratic Party at arm's length when it comes to certain topics. But we have to be honest about who is actually keeping this in the news. What about the Nunez memo bullshit?
The 4-page memo?
The supposed 4-page memo. The only reason why...
I'm writing you
Dog. See, man, I'm done, dog. See, I'm done. See, I'm done now, man. It's like, you did. So, and also, here's my problem. Here's my problem with some of you motherfuckers, okay? Here's my problem. People are approaching this issue based on how other people are responding to it. You are developing your perception and your perspective on something based on how other people are talking about it. So based on how other people are talking about it, that's where you glean your position, and you're actually not gleaning your position based on the issue at hand. We have two sides here. We have maybe a side that is out there that thinks that like Russia, for whatever the case, is the biggest problem. Does that side exist? Yeah. I don't care about that side. I understand that that's a very kind of fallacious side to be on, especially considering what type of problems that we do have as a country. But my problem with people is that the people who say there's nothing there, you are being completely dishonest. And you are on the other end of the spectrum. If you want to say that there's nothing there, what you're telling me is that you haven't looked at anything and you don't care about anything. So any, even a smidgen of a talk about Manafort, Gates, Papadopoulos, or anybody else, even just if you want to admonish the Russians, we can do that. I don't care about them because people see them as fake. I don't care. But to say that there's nothing there, you are being dishonest.
All right.
The whole point is just to put it in its proper context. You don't have to be hysterical, but you can at least be honest. That's all.
All right. So with that, we're going to move on in Facebook. Glad to have you here with us, but we're going to move on to just the YouTube only solo streaming. Please join us. The link is in the description box, and we have lots more to talk about. So we'll see you there. All right. All right. All right, let's get going. All right. Anybody see the Showtime show this past weekend? Or yeah, just this past weekend. Who is America? Anybody caught that? I did, set people up for it. I was like, yo, the last show, I was like, yo, I'm looking forward to episode number 2 because episode number 1 was a doozy, with the whole guns for preschoolers in schools. That was a doozy. Joe Wilson. Joe Wilson. Represent. South Cackalack. Anyway, so on the second episode of Who is America, with Sacha Baron Cohen, Punkin Mugs, we had Georgia State Representative Jason Spencer. And if you don't remember who Representative Spencer is, he has made some news, national news before. He was the particular gentleman. He was the particular state representative that seemed to threaten another lawmaker, a black female lawmaker in Georgia, when he said that if the Confederate statues were removed, that she may go missing. And I think I remember us actually talking about that one.
Yeah. So what you're saying, you're trying to build a case that quite possibly Mr. Sacha Baron Cohen targeted this man and basically concocted.
He saw him.
He concocted his this skit and this particular character he's playing based on his personal political profile.
Oh yeah, he knew who he was. That's why he targeted him. So anyway, it was the same character that had been displayed on the first episode, and this guy that Sacha Baron Cohen is playing is this foreign guy. Looks like a military guy. Tough guy, and on this segment, it was some like anti-terror training and like an anti-terror exercise, and he actually got Representative Jason Spencer to shout out many times the word nigger. He got Representative Jason Spencer to drop his drawers, show his bare ass, and try to rub Sacha Baron Cohen with his ass, because this was all about like, hey, how do you foil a terror attack?
Like distraction.
Yeah, like distraction. Like you only got like a few seconds. Like, what are you gonna do? And so he actually got him to say, shout out nigger, and then he also got him to drop his drawers because he said, hey, these terrorists, they don't want male butts on them because they'll make them feel homosexual. So he actually dropped his drawers and was like, hey, come here. It was crazy. It was absolutely lunacy, man.
See, here's my thing, man. To me, like, I don't think it was as funny as the first episode.
It wasn't as funny, no.
But like, to me, it still showed me the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Is that like, to me, like, you can look at these characters like he's playing and like, is this a real person? Like, he's not that great of an actor. He is not, like, he
but
can be.
It's all the whole setup. See, we're not privy to the whole setup. Like how he's actually getting the attention of these individuals.
Joker looks like he has on a prosthetic face and like his whack accents. And I'm like, okay, like
I don't know.
I guess the first thing I would think, right, is, yo, where's Ashton Kutcher? That's the first thing. That's the first question I would ask. I'm like, man, because this looks weird. So yeah, like Will said, we don't know everything that
how it was set up, what channels it went through,
like how they made him feel comfortable. Right. But then when it gets to the point where somebody's asking you to drop your drawers, when it gets to that point where somebody's asking you to drop your drawers and then yell out nigga over again, I was like, you got to know. You're like, wait a second. Wait 1 second.
Like something has to like, hey, hold up. I am a Georgia State representative. I can't be doing this. And I do see a camera.
And I know. See, you know what? That's it right there. That's it. I do see the camera. Not only do I see the camera,
this isn't hidden camera crap, man.
And I'm like, wait a second. Like, I feel kind of like, you don't feel dumb right now. Like, you don't feel
dropping draws and rubbing it against somebody.
It's almost like the whole setup acts as some sort of like I would say, like hypnosis.
Yeah,
that's what it seems to be. But again, you gotta know who you hypnotizing, and he's picking the right characters,
the absolute right characters. So people in Georgia are upset about this, and even his fellow lawmakers and Republican lawmakers, they're calling on him to resign. They're saying that this is inflammatory, this is unacceptable, he's got to go. Now, he was already set to go anyways, because I believe it was in May they had the primary. Yeah, he was already beaten by Stephen Saines by a pretty comfortable margin, so he's already set to leave early next year. But they're saying, no, you need to go now. You need to step out now, because there's still a long time before he actually steps out of office. And so, of course, Representative Spencer, he feels like he was played. He feels like something needs to be done, I guess, to the creators of the show, Who is America. And before the show even come on, he had like disparaging words about it. He said, the makers of this film fraudulently induced me in participating in bogus self-defense and anti-terrorism training after they learned of the legislation I introduced in November 2016 that provoked death threats against me and my family. They took advantage of my fears that I would be attacked by someone inspired by the vile rhetoric used against me. Yeah, so you knew it was going to happen, and you fell for it anyways.
Not only did you fall for it, like, you actually believed, like, what you were doing in that moment was a legitimate way to thwart a terrorist attack. So it's not just the ridiculous act that he got you to do. It's more ridiculous that he thought that it was a legitimate way to thwart a terrorist attack. So just the action itself, that's dumb. That's ridiculous. That takes a gullible person has a gullible mindset to do. But like,
that he actually believed that this was like an efficient way.
You would have to, if you're participating in it, you would have to believe.
Yeah,
if you're
that sounds right.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? These
rub my ass on somebody. Yeah.
They probably wouldn't like that. They probably wouldn't like that. I was deterred terrorism. I was like, you know what happened? You get your ass shit. If that was the case, you're not deterring anybody. They wouldn't run away. They would probably shoot you.
Exactly. And he also said that he plans to file he said that he plans to take legal action against the creators of Who is America. What case you got? I don't understand what case you have.
See, the thing is, it's like he got got. He didn't buy anything. It's not like they sold him a product and he bought it and he spent money.
It was a prank show. So, I mean, like, you got.
So you know what? Like, does he even understand what kind of precedent he would be setting if he won that? Like, now all pranks will be subject to the same litigation,
right?
And that's not going to happen. You know,
there's no law against pranks.
I don't feel sorry for him, but I do feel sorry for him.
Oh, I know.
I feel sorry for him only because all these people are outraged by the nigger word, and they're not necessarily outraged by things that actually affect black people. I just don't hate this false outrage. Oh, he said nigger. How dare he? You know, like, he doesn't need to have this position, when most of them know full and well that they support policies that affect black people negatively. So to me, like, obviously I don't feel sorry for him because, like, he has a detestable, mindset and politics already, but I feel sorry for him in the case that, like, people are using this situation to be concerned trolls, as if they really care about black people. Oh, like, how about it? I'm like, that's the only thing I don't care about. That's the thing.
See, where I go is, look, you're a state representative. You represent people. You can't be showing your ass, man. Sorry.
Literally.
Exactly. Not figuratively. No, you actually showed your ass. You gotta go. You can't be a representative and showed your ass on camera. You can't do it.
That's funny.
You can't do it.
It's funny because that's probably what Cohen knew was going to come out of it. He showed his ass on TV.
Exactly.
He
literally showed his ass. You gotta go, man. If he doesn't step down before he's scheduled to, I'll be surprised. I really would be surprised. But maybe he really has no care. Look, I'm leaving anyway. I'm collecting this check.
I'm just waiting on him to, like, some of these little fake liberals to get got, man. That's what I'm waiting on.
True.
You know what I mean?
It might be coming.
I want to see that.
And we're still waiting on Sarah Palin. Still waiting on that segment.
Oh,
still waiting on it. Man.
Oh, dang.
They may be saving it for last, man. You know how gullible she is, and you know how ignorant she is, man. And she's already been talking about it, too. So it's like, it must be bad.
She's trying to, like, defizz.
Yeah, it must be real bad.
She's trying to defizz this situation, man.
Because she knows it's coming.
She's trying to get in front of it.
I didn't hear Bernie Sanders talking about it before it happened. Because, Bernie Sanders didn't get got.
Actually, that's because he didn't fall for it.
No.
Not only did he not fall for it, he kind of, like, was kind of like being kind of animated.
Yeah, he was like,
and he was actually,
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
You know what? And see, that's extra. So it was like, this dude is playing. So it's like, you know what? I'll make this fun for myself and just kind of like include myself in this stupid ass skit.
Look, man, they got what's coming to them, man. If the things can come out of your mouth this comfortably, sorry, you got what's coming to you, man. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to the NFL. Okay, so all right, so as is the case every year in the NFL, the teams in the NFL, they have to submit documents to that are regarding their discipline policy. So this happens before the season begins, and according to an AP report, the Miami Dolphins included in their documents possible discipline of up to a 4-game suspension for players who failed to stand for the national anthem, per the new policy that was initiated or executed by the NFL just a few months ago. So there was obviously a lot of uproar about this, a lot of furor, a lot of controversy about this, and rightfully so, of course, because we have to remember too that the NFL Players Association, they filed a grievance regarding this policy because they weren't involved in the making of in the creation of this policy, and of course they're taking a stance against it. Now, after all of this uproar, the Miami Dolphins, they stated, or at least one official team source, they stated that they were they're mandated to file these documents to the league before the season begins. Every team has to do it. So they have not made a decision on actual punishment in regards to anybody that actually kneels for the national anthem or protests in any type of way for the national anthem. They have not come to that decision yet, and they don't believe that they are going to punish those players that actually do. But like I said, they haven't made that decision. They really haven't even discussed it. That's what they're saying. But like I said, they had to file these papers with the league office as is required by the league. So, I mean, look, I don't know if they're telling the truth or if they're just trying to get out of it. I don't know. They are one of the first few teams that have their training camps, in the summer. So they're going to be filing that paperwork before most other teams. And I guess, the AP was able to get their hands on these documents because you really never hear about, these documents ever. I've never heard about them before, but of course, because this is such a lightning rod issue.
Exactly. People are going to be looking for it. Yeah. Like, never before have we got like a bird's eye view of any of these teams, like policies and like, I guess this internal documents.
No, like not like this.
Not like this.
No. So again, so the Dolphins, they said what they had to say. So in response to all of this controversy, the NFL Well, first, this was a statement from the Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross. He said, "We were asked to submit a form to the NFL of our overall discipline policy prior to the start of the rookie report date. The one-line sentence related to the national anthem was a placeholder, as we haven't made a decision on what we would do, if anything, at that point. I'm pleased that the NFL and the NFLPA are taking a pause to figure out a resolution on this issue." So that last sentence, he's referencing that the NFL and the NFLPA have come to an agreement to put on pause the new policy that was just executed or just put in place just a few months ago. So they did have a joint statement that was released. It said the NFL and the NFLPA, through recent discussions, have been working on a resolution to the anthem issue. In order to allow this constructive dialogue to continue, we have come to a standstill agreement on the NFLPA's grievance and on the NFL's anthem policy. So, I guess it puts this whole thing on hold because, like I said, this has been going on ever since what? I mean, this goes back to 2016 when Colin Kaepernick first was catching heat about kneeling first sitting for the national anthem, and then he started kneeling as a way to show respect. So this has been going on for a great long time. So you can imagine that because of this stance, you can imagine because of the not changing policy, but putting the policy on hold, you can imagine that somebody would have to say something about it.
By somebody, who are you talking about?
I would be thinking about President Donald Trump. And of course, President Donald Trump did have something to say about not the change, but the pause in the policy. And on Twitter, on July 20th, he said, "The NFL national anthem debate is alive and well again. Can't believe it. Isn't it in contract that players must stand at attention, hand on heart? The $40 million commissioner must now make a stand. First time kneeling, out for game. Second time kneeling, out for season, no pay."
Actually, it's not really kind of invigorated again. The issue hasn't actually been invigorated. The only person
continued.
It's continued, but has it really been invigorated again? The person that's actually invigorating it is Donald Trump. But again, he's probably excited because this is something very easy to get behind. Even if it's kind of wrong-minded, it's something very easy he can get behind because this is all he knows. It gives him another opportunity to poke his chest out on something very superficial, and that has to do with nationalism.
This is, but again, you're absolutely right. Trump has been taking this fight to the NFL for months now. He's always talked about it, but let's just get back to the tweet. Some things he's talking about is wrong. First of all, he's saying that it's a contractual issue. No, it's not. What are you talking about? It's in the contracts of these players that they have to stand at attention. No, it's not. Because if it was in the contract, these players probably would have protested against that, about signing contracts like that, right? Don't you think? Don't you think they... Yeah. So it's not in the contract. Second thing, he's actually suggesting penalties for the NFL now, saying for the first game, kneeling, out for the game. For the second time, out for the season. Now, this is the president of the United States interjecting himself in a private business matter, and not just some private business matter that may deal with like state laws or federal laws. No, these players that may be kneeling for the national anthem, they're using their constitutional rights. So you're telling me the president of the United States should be able to interject himself in a private business matter about employees that are actually using their constitutional rights to do whatever the hell they want to do? If they wanted to kneel, they could do that. If they wanted to pump their fist in the air, they could. If they wanted to fold their arms for the national anthem, they could, because there's nothing in their contract, there's nothing in NFL policy, there's nothing in the Constitution that mandates that they have to do that. And if Donald Trump is able to actually sway these owners to do exactly what he wants them to do, where does it stop? Does it just stop with this private business? Couldn't he have a problem with other private businesses and be like, you know what? Hey, look, these NFL owners, they're my bitches. They're scared of me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like what your employees are doing too. Fix it.
Oh, so you think this could quite possibly enable him? And like even places of business that don't have a policy, he could then try to influence them to enact such a policy, because this is his little wedge issue he has. He does not want to let this go.
He won't. He can't let it go. And this is the whole reason why presidents of the United States, it is illegal for them to actually influence the actions of a private business. This is per the United States Code, Title 18, Section 227. It is illegal for the president to do exactly what President Donald Trump is doing. But of course, it would fall into the hands of the DOJ. And of course, Beauregard ain't going to do a damn thing about this. But again, this is just a bad look. Of course, we've talked about this many times. Now, it's all about what the NFL is going to do. Are the NFL owners, is the NFL commissioner, are they going to continue to be the bitches of Donald Trump? Are they going to be forced into a decision to where they don't want Trump to hit them anymore? Like, we're too scared of Donald Trump. I believe this is a time where you got to back off this whole policy. Like, first of all, you have to come to it. You have to come to a decision and stand by it. That's the first thing. But the second thing is you can't be swayed by the current president of the United States, because one, it's illegal, and two, he's going to keep harping on it. He's going to keep attacking you. If you just continuously keep backing up and just trying to capitulate to Donald Trump, that's a never-ending saga, and it's not going to just end with the NFL. It's going to go on to other private business as well. All right, let's go to the CFPB. Yeah, let's go to the CFPB. Okay, where do I have that at? All right, so damn, hold on. All right, here we go. All right, so on Thursday, President Trump's nominee to become the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau had a hearing before the Senate Banking Committee. And as could have been predicted, Kathy Kraninger, an official at the Office of Management and Budget, ran and dodged questions many times. She did not answer questions directly. She ran from them. She dodged them.
Yo, I was very surprised because I watched part of that question and answer session. And what's her face from Nevada? What's her name?
Cortez
Masto.
Yeah, Masto. That's it. Cortez.
Yeah, she was
Masto.
asking her direct questions about like how would you implement like a certain strategy to help, I don't know, help better protect customers and blah blah blah. Her answer would be something like, well, I would use the policies and procedures I would be given to make the best decision. She didn't have anything specific.
Yeah. Not a lot was learned from this whole hearing. I mean, it really wasn't, because, like, again, she just ran and she ducked and she dodged and she just didn't want to give a direct answer. But there was a few things that were learned. And those few things surrounded that she has absolutely no experience and she is not qualified to lead the CFPB. That was learned. So it was about 3 hours of questioning. Senators tried to get a sense of what her responsibilities at OMB were, and they pretty much got nowhere. Again, she ducked, she ran, she dodged. She declined to discuss any conversations or meetings that she participated in, and she said this was because she needed to respect the deliberative process. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada, who we just referenced, she said, if you can't even tell us what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, how can we expect you to be accountable at CFPB? And that's a very good question, but it didn't lead to anything significant. She didn't actually answer the question.
If you felt what the current job you have now is very important and it qualifies you at least, or is a stepping stone for your next gig, then you would be very forthcoming about like your work there. You know what I'm saying?
Because you would have to give them an idea of your background, just your experience. Like, how were you able to get the job done? Like, did you have success? Yeah, were you influential?
We don't need. She. It's not like she was dealing with. Like, she's not dealing in a situation where she's handling highly classified information or information that is proprietary. You know what I'm saying? So she could at least give some sort of overview.
She could, but she didn't.
But yeah, this just looks like another one of those situations where, I guess the best way to ensure that this particular agency has no teeth is to put someone in a position that doesn't have any experience concerning the primary job. That's what it looks like, because you know what it's going to be. It's going to be an industry lobbyist, you know, telling her what to do. It's going to be industry lobbyists who are going to be giving her an agenda, and she's not going to know whether that policy that she is, you know, that's gift wrapped to her is hurtful or helpful to the customers.
Because she has no experience. So Kraninger she's connected to a few bad issues, a few bad policies. She's connected to the slow response to the aid in Puerto Rico following Hurricane Maria. And she's also connected to the Trump administration's new policy of separating families at the border. So Kraninger said that she wasn't involved in the creation of that policy of separating families at the border, but she would not discuss any of the conversations or any of the advice that she gave on this matter as well. So Senator Elizabeth Warren, she tried multiple times to get her to answer a question of, like, you know, what involvement did you have? What advice did you give anybody? What were these conversations like? To no avail. Finally, Senator Warren said, it's fundamentally immoral, and you were part of it, Ms. Kraninger. It's a moral stain that will follow you for the rest of your life. If the Senate votes to give you a big promotion after this, then it is a stain on the senators who do so as well. So I agree. Again, this is not so much relevant to what her job responsibilities will be at CFPB. But again, if you were part of immoral decisions and you're going to have to be advocating for consumers and customers, then, you know, you follow me? You follow the logic there? Like, are you going to make similar immoral judgments?
Yeah, because even though she wasn't like she's making the excuse that she is not like directly behind the creation of those policies, but she participated in them.
Exactly. If you had anything to do with it, of course, it's going to follow you. Of course, it's going to follow you.
Yeah, it is. I think like the group that is promoting her, I forgot, it was like Washington something, Liberty something, or like, I forgot, like it had some name to it that gave it this indication that they were out to protect people. But I think the group that is promoting her for this position, at one point they actually put out negative propaganda ads against the CFPB. This is the group that's pushing her
to be the director of the CFPB. It's crazy.
So that kind of gives an indication of why they're pushing her to be. They got somebody as an inside woman. Yeah. You know? So I think that same group was behind a campaign to try to deny food service workers $15 minimum wage. So
advocating for the worker, for the regular American, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I doubt this particular apple would fall far from that tree.
Yeah. So this is from The Intercept. About the only time Kraninger ever gave a straight answer was to a series of rapid-fire questions from Senator Heidi Heitkamp, Democrat from North Dakota. Kraninger admitted that she has never worked in any financial capacity, either at a bank or a credit union, or as a regulator. She has had no supervision responsibilities over payday lenders, credit bureaus, insurance companies, or debt collectors. She has no experience with the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, the Truth in Lending Act, or any other consumer protection law. She couldn't remember any law school classes involving consumer protection. She did claim to have worked once while in college on a financial literacy program.
Basically, she doesn't have a record of I don't know, investigating white collar crime in any kind of way, white collar financial crime.
She has no experience with the job responsibilities
except
of the director of the CFPB.
Except she has her job qualifications involve being a political operative.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Heidi Heitkamp, she said to Kraninger, "The point I'm trying to make is that this is a highly technical job. We ought to have somebody who has experience and who has empathy." empathy is the word too, just like the immoral word. You're going to be advocating for consumers. You must have empathy because you must think, hey, these consumers, a wrong was done to them by big business. We must fix this wrong. If you don't have empathy for these consumers, then you're not going to be able to do the job.
But see, again, the strings are attached to her is almost a blockage on that empathy. You know what I'm saying? And I did get it wrong before. It wasn't food service. It was tipped.
It was
that
tipped.
Campaign from that group that's promoting it. It wasn't just food service. It was all tipped workers.
Okay. But so the only thing that it seems that does qualify her for this job, other than obviously being corrupt, is that she has a close relationship with the temporary director at CFPB, Mick Mulvaney, who is her boss at OMB. So we know how Mick Mulvaney feels about the CFPB. We have stated this multiple times before. He's been incredibly hostile to it. He has stated that it should not exist. He has before referred to the CFPB as, quote, a sad, sick joke. He's called the agency an awful example of bureaucracy. He also said it was flawed and completely unaccountable. So coincidentally, on the same day that Kraninger was actually testifying in front of the Senate Banking Committee, the CFPB announced that they had came to a settlement with Triton Management, which is an auto title lender in Mississippi. The CFPB discovered that Triton concealed $1.5 million in finance charges to customers and allowed them to settle for a $500,000 fine, meaning that Triton Management came away with a $1 million profit. And who is leading the CFPB again right now? Acting Director Mick Mulvaney, who has close ties to the nominee, Kathy Kraninger. Again, this was announced on the same day that she's having a hearing. You let this company that screwed customers over for $1.5 million, you let them settle for only $500,000 going towards affected victims. What happened to the other
She's
million?
Actually probably there, actually did not do anything there. That's what that tells me. She's probably there just to be like a placeholder. You know what I'm saying?
This is crazy, man. So, there is, so there's a problem when you're talking about who's going to be the next director of the CFPB, because the directors or the next director gets a 5-year term. So we know that Trump is going to obviously nominate somebody. He nominated Kathy Kraninger. She's awful. She has no experience. She's not qualified to lead the CFPB. But if it's not her, it will be somebody else. And of course, even if they have slight experience, they're going to be awful in pretty much the same way. So per The Intercept again, says CFPB directors get a 5-year term, meaning if Kraninger were seated tomorrow, she would serve through July 2023, well into the next presidential term, whether a Republican or Democrat sat in the Oval Office. Delaying that clock gives a Mulvaney-style deregulator more time in the director's chair. Senators face a horrible dilemma: either approve a pawn of Trump, Mulvaney, and financial industry predators, starting the clock now on a grim 5-year term, or risk starting the clock later with a different nominee who's even worse, said Public Citizen's Bartlett Naylor in a statement. Either way, Americans lose. So you see, that is the dilemma that we are facing with the CFPB. It's going to be somebody terrible. Now, it's going to be somebody as terrible as Kraninger. It's like I don't even know how to answer that question. She's probably going to do the same things as anybody else. She doesn't have any experience, so she could be very, very, very horrible in different ways than somebody that does have experience. You know, I don't know which way. Like, do Democrats just go ahead and support her? I mean, like, I couldn't support any of these nominees. It would just have to be held up.
Here's my thing. You would think that they would have kind of wised up by now. Like, at least like present somebody with some kind of knowledge. Like, they're not even hiding the fact that they want people in there that are going to be pushovers. So to me, it's like with DeVos. And what's the other guy? He was up for that, like, Health and Human Services. Was that a Health and Human Services position or something like that?
I can't recall.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. I forgot his name. But so they constantly keep putting these people up that are obviously unqualified, so they draw more eyes and they draw more questions. You would just think that they would have smartened up by now and at least like coach some of these people that they want in these positions. Like they're not even doing it right. You see what I'm saying? They're not even putting like an empty suit in there correctly. They can at least coach these people. They're not even doing that.
No, to give like a misleading answer.
A misleading answer with the impression
they're not even doing that.
They're like qualified. They're not even doing that.
But that's what I mean. Like, look, I know we're dealing with a difficult situation, but like I said, I wouldn't advocate for any of these Democrats to just be like, you know what, it's got to be somebody. No. Let Mick Mulvaney be the acting director for the next, 2.5 years or whatever. Don't give somebody a 5-year term that is as horrible as Kathy Kraninger, because then, again, you're going to be stuck with that person no matter who's the president for 5 years. Nah. Don't approve any of these clowns. Just let the acting director do. You know it's going to be somebody just like Mick Mulvaney, so why not just let Mick Mulvaney be the acting director for at least the next 2.5 years? That's what I do. But I don't know, there are conservative Democrats, and we are about just under 3 months, something like that, to the midterms. And there are these conservative Democrats that are, they're having these battles in the states that they represent that Trump carried in 2016. So you can tell that they're trying to, I guess, straddle the fence and be like, well, hold on, I can't be really liberal right now because I'm risking getting out of office because of my constituency. So I don't know. I don't know if Kraninger is going to be approved by then or not. Hopefully not. And if she isn't, then these conservative Democrats, they won't have any reason. If they do get through their election and they come out on the other side and they're reelected, they won't have any reason to actually vote for her and approve her for this position that she is obviously not qualified for. All right, so let me get, where's the pen at me? Let me get the, let's get to, let's get to Trump in Missouri. Right, okay, so, let me set this up. All right. So President Trump had nothing but glorious things to say today in Kansas City, Missouri at the Veterans of Foreign Wars National Convention. One of the things he said was this country is doing better than it's ever has before economically. So these are some comments that he made at that convention.
Country is doing better than it's ever done before economically. This is the time to take off the ripoff of tariffs. We have to do it. Other countries have tariffs on us. So when I say, well, I'm going to put tariffs on them, they all start screaming, he's using tariffs. But it's all working out. And just remember, what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening. And I'll tell you, I have so many people that are so in favor, because we have to make our country truly great again. Remember, Make America Great Again, and then in 2.5 years, it's called Keep America Great. So the way we keep America great is to make at least reasonable. I'm not saying at least reasonable, at least fair trade deals, not stupid trade deals.
MAGA.
I don't know what he's talking about. Honestly, I don't know. I can't make out any of that.
Intelligible.
I mean, he was kind of just bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to follow him sometimes. I don't. But he did say that, like I said, the economy's doing better than it ever has before. He said, don't believe the media because that's not actually what's going on. Like what you're seeing is not actually what's going on. Later, I believe during the same convention, he also said that farmers would be the biggest beneficiaries of the trade wars that have commenced. He said, that because of these tariffs and these retaliatory tariffs, that they were going to be the biggest beneficiaries.
Now, why do you think he mentioned farmers? Like, why do you think, why would he do that?
Well, because of these tariffs that have been applied to different countries, because of the Trump administration, different countries have enacted the retaliatory tariffs on us, pork, soybeans. So it has affected farmers. Mm-hmm. So in other news, reports indicate that the Trump administration will provide about $12 billion in financial aid to farmers affected by the retaliatory tariffs. That's just in other news. That's not really connected.
Not at all.
Those two things are separate.
It really doesn't, point to why he mentioned farmers in that little snippet there. I don't think it does. No.
The economy is doing great. Everything that's happening is great. Don't believe the media. But you know what? What we're going to do is we're going to bail out these farmers that are negatively impacted by retaliatory tariffs.
Hey, not only don't believe the media, don't believe what my administration is doing to bail out farmers.
Yeah.
So if farmers are doing well, then why would there need to be money allocated towards aid? Actually, let's call it what it really is. Welfare.
Oh, yeah, it's welfare.
It's welfare.
Because they're struggling.
But
you saw in the clip, he pointed to the media. Like, he was pointing to the media. All these guys, you don't believe them, right? But it's not the media. It's not just the media that has been against these tariffs that have been implemented by Donald Trump. It's also been lawmakers.
And
it's also been Republican lawmakers that have taken a very negative stance against your own tariffs. Senators like Ron Johnson, who is a Republican, he said they want trade, not aid. He's talking about the farmers, okay? Senator Jerry Moran, who's a Republican from Kansas, said there is money available to tide them over. But my view is there'll never be enough money to solve the problem. What happens when other countries gain our markets? Can you do $12 billion regularly? How long does this take? And then Senators Chuck Grassley and Senator Bob Corker said very similar things. They have all pretty much, the House Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, he has talked about these tariffs, saying that he doesn't think this is the right thing to do. A lot of Republicans have said the same thing. So why is he talking about how it's the media that's talking about it? Don't believe the media.
Because that's like what he wants people, he wants to direct people to, because he already knows that kind of the media is not trustworthy. Mm-hmm. So he just that's a go-to regardless of whether it's true or not. And this is one of the first times that like politicians were actually speaking up for what the actual like people wanted. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because farmers have been kind of saying the same thing, that they want their products to be available in the global market. That's how they sustain their business. They are concerned as farmers that the government will not be able to sustain this. So they have a realistic approach too. And quite surprisingly, Republicans are echoing that same concern.
And the media is conveying that, not developing like a position like it's just us. We're trying to feed you fake news. No, it's coming from your own Republican Party.
Like when Trump announced the first round of tariffs, I remember reading an article, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't within the article. I can't remember where it was, but it was in the comment section. And a bunch of users and a bunch of people said this is what was going to happen. That the tariffs, the retaliatory tariffs, because first it was Trump's tariffs and then the retaliatory tariffs, there were people who predicted it. I didn't. I wasn't seeing it. But there were people who predicted that the retaliatory tariffs would affect farmers the most. And look what we have here. And to me, like, it looked like kind of China won this little chess match. Well,
as of yet,
right? As of yet, because I did mention during our BMW coverage when BMW announced that they were shipping some of their manufacturing overseas. I think I did mention how China was going to hit us, and that was in soy and in corn and in food, and I was like, damn, that's smart. Mm-hmm. That's smart. And I'm like, duh, like I don't think Trump was expecting that, because you can live without steel, but you can't live without food.
No, you can't. I remember seeing the first round when this was even just being discussed. I remember seeing, and this was in the media. I believe this was on CNBC maybe, and they were talking about, hey, China could attack soybeans, and that would be devastating to farmers. Like, farmers don't want this aid because, again, like Mike said, they want access to global markets so that it's their income is sustainable. Like, it's going to be ever growing. It's going to be coming at the regular, not bailout money, not welfare funds, because can you continuously give the farmers welfare? Can you continuously do that? I guess Trump is thinking that, hey, this isn't going to last forever, so I'll give you some money right now, and this will tide you over until we actually win the trade war. But the good, I mean, like, you would think like the most, I guess, logical thing would be to back off of this trade, all these tariffs that it seems like everybody's opposed to. At least people that know what they're talking about, they feel like it's a bad idea. So you can let the farmers continue being in the global marketplace, continuing earning their income, continuing having some kind of success, and not provide them welfare. You know what else you could do with that $12 billion that you're just having laying around somewhere? You have access to $12 billion, but people are still going hungry in the United States of America. There's a homelessness crisis in the United States of America. People don't have health insurance in the United States of America. People are dying because they don't have access to health insurance. People are dying because they don't have access to prescription drug coverage. And you have $12 billion to hand out in welfare for farmers when all you could do is just pull back the tariffs and allow them to do what they do? Are you serious?
Do you think this is about ego and greed? Or do you think this is just a short-term dilemma? And there is like some sort of like long-range positive to these trade wars? Like, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Because essentially these farmers, or just not just farmers, but everyone who's been affected by these tariffs, their livelihood is tied into the words, and trusting the words of what many people think is a con man. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Do you think that there's actually a long-term plan for this? Because I know it's not really my area, you know, the economy and whatnot.
You talking about Trump's long-term plan?
Yeah.
I think what he's seeing is that we win trade war. I don't think he knows the steps to get there, because it doesn't seem like he knows what steps to get there. Again, you said China did the smart thing by attacking the soybean. So what are you gonna do?
Now that I think about it, maybe like your larger agricultural consortiums might be able to, like, I don't know, deal with the damage this trade war is causing. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe they might be able to, like, I guess, stomach the blow. You know what I'm saying? Because they're big. Mm-hmm. But these local farmers that are still operating, like, on that thin line between red and black, you know, maybe they'll have to sell their farms. Exactly.
The smaller farmers, they're probably not going to last to the end of this trade war.
So maybe that's it. Maybe that's the purpose. Maybe the whole intent of these trade wars is to get these smaller farms to sell to this kind of agribusiness entities.
Monopolies.
You know what I'm saying? So now you have monopolies.
I wouldn't put it past them. Wouldn't put it past them. All right, we got a couple more stories. Let's get to Florida. All right. On Thursday, a black man was shot and killed at a convenience store parking lot in Clearwater, Florida. And on Friday, Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Gualtieri said that the shooter would not be arrested. So according to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, around 3:28 p.m. Thursday, Brittany Jacobs was sitting in her vehicle in a handicapped parking space outside of Circle A food store while her boyfriend, Marquise McLaughlin, and their son, Marquise McLaughlin Jr., was inside the store. So during this time, while the two were inside the store, a man had pulled up to the same store, the same convenience store, named Michael Draca. And he approached Brittany Jacobs' vehicle. Seemed to have a problem with Brittany Jacobs being in that parking spot because it was a handicapped parking spot, and you could see on the video, which we're going to show, you could see him looking at the vehicle, I guess trying to see if anything was hanging that allowed him to be in the space. So an argument ensued. It was a very like a abrasive argument. So somebody that I guess saw that was going on outside went inside the store to say, there's there's a argument commencing outside right now. And that's when Marquise McLaughlin went outside and got got into a confrontation with this guy, Michael Draker, who was, berating this woman inside the vehicle. So there is a video that caught what happened. There was a surveillance video at the convenience store that caught what happened. So we're going to show it. It doesn't have any sound. You can clearly see what happened though. So if you haven't seen it and, maybe you don't want to see a murder, then I suggest you avert your eyes now. So that's Michael Draker standing there talking, yelling at Brittany Jacobs. And that is Marquise McLaughlin coming out the store. So he shoves Michael Draker. Michael Draker pulls out the handgun, shoots him in the chest. So Marquise McLaughlin goes back into the store and he collapses in front of his 5-year-old son. And a short time later, he dies. So Michael Draker is sitting there, and as you'll see momentarily, he gets up, and I believe he puts his firearm in his vehicle, and he waits for police officers to arrive, and there they were able to question him, or they took him in for questioning. So this was per the police statement. According to witnesses, McLaughlin exited the store and walked over to Draker, who was still arguing with Jacobs in the parking lot. Witnesses say McLaughlin forcibly pushed Draker, causing Draker to fall to the ground. Witnesses told detectives that Draker was on the ground when he took out a handgun and fired one single round at McLaughlin, striking him in the chest. So you can clearly see that on the video. It was very soon after this occurred. This was just the next day. On Friday, it was announced that Michael Draker was not going to be arrested because of this incident, because of killing Marquise McLaughlin. And it was per the Florida law, the Stand Your Ground law, that he was not going to be arrested. So that law was enacted in 2005. It allows residents to use force when they use force, including deadly force, when they are or when they reasonably believe that they are at risk of death or serious harm, great bodily harm.
Read that last part again, Will.
They can use force, including deadly force, if they reasonably believe okay, they are at risk of death or great bodily harm.
You know I asked you to reread that, right?
Oh, of course. I know why.
What was that key word, man?
Reasonably believe. Okay. Reasonably believe. The law specifies that people have no duty to retreat from their homes or their vehicles if they feel threatened. So we've seen this before. In Florida, you have the right to stand your ground if you are being threatened, and if you are being violently threatened, if you believe that you are going to be subject to some great harm or even death, then you can use your firearm to kill somebody. You can use whatever means that you have to kill somebody. And Draker, he did have a legal concealed carry permit, so he was legally able to carry that firearm, and he shot Marquise McLaughlin, and Marquise McLaughlin fell and he died a short time later. And like I said, just a day later, they came to the decision that they were not going to arrest him. These are actually, we have some words from the Pinellas County Sheriff, Bob Gualtieri, that we'd like to show you.
McLaughlin is still a few feet away. McLaughlin is facing Draker, and Draker is on the ground. And when Draker had been slammed to the ground, he then reaches, because he's a concealed carry permit holder and he can lawfully carry a concealed firearm, he reaches and takes out his firearm. And at that point, McLaughlin is still, again, a few feet away. He's facing Draker. Looks like he's starting to turn a little bit, maybe as we would call blading, which is kind of at an angle, but he's not turned away. He's still facing him. And at that point, Draker fires one round from the gun, and it strikes McLaughlin right here in the chest. McLaughlin then grabs his chest and retreats back into the store where he collapses. EMS responded. He was taken to Morton Plant Hospital where he was pronounced dead. Draka, after he shot McLaughlin, took his firearm, put it in his car, and waited for law enforcement to respond. Draka was cooperative, and during the interview, what he claimed is that he had a verbal altercation, he was approached, he was slammed to the ground, and that he was in fear. And he felt, after being slammed to the ground, that the next thing is that he was going to be further attacked by McLaughlin.
You know what? Fuck that dude, man. Fuck him, man. Because if he was really being honest about the situation and he was addressing it from a standpoint of enforcing or not enforcing the law, there would not be any need to kind of offer certain distortions about an incident that we have camera footage for. If he felt that not charging Draka was justified, there would be no need to kind of frame a situation in a certain way. There are two things I have a problem with, actually three. First thing is, this motherfucker needed 30 minutes. This joker needed 30 minutes to explain why he's not charging somebody. So he was just doing too much and he was being extra. Second thing is, I know he understands language and what words mean. He didn't get to that position because he's a dummy. He had to go through testing. He had to go through training. He had to work his way up to become a sheriff. So I know he understands words, and he has to write reports as well. So I know he understands words and language. And I think there was an intentional use of a particular word that, I guess, gave him moral justification and made him feel mentally and consciously better about the decision he made to not charge this guy. And what was that word, Will?
Slam.
Slam. Now, he did push the guy.
He pushed him hard.
But did he slam? Now, anybody looking at just reasonably, I guess, offer a description to what McLaughlin did to Draka would objectively say that was a push. Like, why would you need to say slam? Why would you need to say that? And the third thing is, I don't understand how somebody could be both angled away from a person, like the sheriff said. He was angled away, but still facing someone. Like he's making it sound like he was still a threat to Draka, and that's why he said that.
He wasn't turned away. He was just angled.
He was just angled. Like, basically, you're saying he was turned away, but you don't want to say he was turned away, because if you do, you would kind of feel bad about that. You don't want to feel bad about not charging this guy, so you kind of have to say certain words, you know what I'm saying, to shape the situation in a certain way, and almost not just paint it to the public. It does seem like he's painting that for himself too.
For himself, right. And these are some more words from Bob Gualtieri. He said, I don't make the law, I enforce the law. The law in the state of Florida says that people have a right to stand their ground and have a right to defend themselves when they believe that they are in harm. Now, again, we have to refer back to the actual law, stand your ground, and we have to refer back to those two words, reasonably believe. You saw the video. Now, you saw the video and you saw exactly what this sheriff, Bob Gualtieri, said about Draka's actions. He still felt like he was going to have harm come to him. The moment where Draka pulls the gun, you immediately see McLaughlin take a step back, and you can see that he does turn away from him. How can you say that there was a reasonable case of harm, or that somebody would feel that there was more harm coming their way? You got pushed on the ground. You brandished the weapon. Dude steps away, turns away from you. Like, at what point does it not become reasonable? Like, if there was 10 seconds in between and he was still like this and turned away from you, if there was 30 minutes in between, can I go hunt somebody down that did me harm and I just have some, can I claim that I have a reasonable fear that they're going to kill me at some other time? Can I go then and murder them? Because that's what this was. This was murder. McLaughlin was not threatening Draca at the time when he shot him. And you can clearly see that on the surveillance tape.
Did you hear what the sheriff said? You know, to kind of like brush away the fact that McLaughlin turned away. He was like, well, he was still standing a few feet away from him.
Yeah, he was still standing.
You noticed that, right?
He was angled away from him. You could clear. Let's run the video just one more time. You can keep talking. Go ahead. Keep talking.
And you know, like McLaughlin's girlfriend was actually trying to get out of the car while Draca was yelling at her. Right. If you notice, she is about to get out of the car, and he walks out and sees this and confronting his girlfriend, and she's trying to get out. If anything, wasn't McLaughlin standing his ground on behalf of his wife? Now, what if she had shot first out of fear and asked questions later? I bet you Draca would have been the poster child for a campaign to change this damn law. You know what I'm saying? Right. And another fucked up thing about the situation is, a month prior to this incident, what happened? A month prior to this incident, the store manager at this convenience store had to call the cops because Draca got into a yelling match with another customer. Now, Good Morning Tampa actually interviewed this guy. His name was Rich Kelly, and apparently Draca was calling this dude like all kind of racial slurs, waving a gun in his face, talking about how he was going to shoot him. So this is not a person that is unknown to police and unknown to the community for being a nuisance around that store.
And so further words from this sheriff of Pinellas County, Bob Gualtieri. He said, "This will go to the state attorney. Draca will not be charged and will not be arrested by us. The state attorney will review it, and either he'll concur or not. And if he concurs, then there will be no charge, period. If he doesn't concur, then he'll make a determination as to what to do with it. And if he feels like he can overcome that heavy burden at a stand your ground hearing of proven by clear and convincing evidence that Draca was not entitled to use force in this circumstance, then that's the state attorney's determination to make." Now, this is again, this sheriff is making his own feelings very, 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 very clear. He's saying, think about like how he's muddying the waters here. If the state prosecutor wants to go ahead and proceed with the trial, and if he feels he can overcome that heavy burden at a stand your ground hearing by proving by clear and convincing evidence that Draca was not entitled to use force in this circumstance, why are you doing so much to indicate that Draca was in the right in the situation? All you're trying to do, all you're supposed to be doing, is looking at the facts. It seems like you are heavily biased in this circumstance, heavily biased to support anybody that may claim that they have justification through the stand your ground law. You saw the video twice now. The moment where Draca pulls the gun out, immediately McLaughlin steps away. He steps away. He's at his vehicle. He turns away. There is not a reasonable justification that more harm is coming to Draca. There's just not. And for a sheriff, fine. Let's say you determine that, hey, stand your ground may be applicable. I'm not arresting them. It's going to be in the hands of the state prosecutor. Cool. Why are you muddying the waters? Why are you making it that much more difficult? Let's say the prosecutor determines, you know what, there's no reasonable justification. We are going to prosecute him. Why would you muddy the waters? Why would you try to make the whole trial that much more difficult for a jury that may be listening to your words right now?
Like I said, he was doing way too much. And during the statement, he even admitted that in some cases the law may create situations where people shoot first and ask questions later. And I'm like, no shit, but I can take that further. But like, as far as the law goes and the fact that it hasn't been like adjusted, like I think it's easy to consider like likely scenarios that could come about based on this law. It doesn't really deal with situations where somebody confronts someone and then instigates something and then puts themselves in a position where they have to use their firearm. In this case, we have everything on video. Yes. And there's another situation that involves stand your ground that kind of is famous, and that's the
George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin case.
See, that case is different. Why?
Because we didn't have video. Now, of course, with George Zimmerman, he was told many times, yo, don't pursue Trayvon Martin. The cops are coming. Don't pursue him. He did it anyway, and it led to Trayvon Martin's death. It led to him killing Trayvon Martin. Now, so, of course, there are people on the side of George Zimmerman. Hey, he had a right to protect himself. But, see, the initial action, he didn't have a right to do. He was pursuing him. So it doesn't make any difference. He's guilty of murder, even though a jury said that he wasn't. It doesn't matter. But, again, in that case, you didn't have video. In this case right here, you can clearly see that McGlockton poses no more harm to Draka. But what does Draka do anyways? He shoots him dead, even though McGlockton is backing away from him, turning away from him. So if you can make the case that Draka is reasonably justified in this case, then there's no case. There's absolutely no case where you're not justified to use stand your ground. There's absolutely no case.
You know what's like, unfortunately, might have to happen, for there to be any kind of consideration about adjusting this kind of law or any kind of law. You know what's going to have to happen? There's going to be there's going to be like mugs that want to seek vengeance. That's what's going to have to happen. I hate to say it, but it looks like that's going to have to happen. Like people out to get payback. Yeah, like
I'm going to pursue you because you threatened me. Stand my ground. See, you threatened me, and I feel like it's going to come at another time.
And like I said,
so I'm going to kill you.
McGlockton's girlfriend, she could have felt threatened, right?
She could have.
And that law states that if you feel your life is threatened, you can shoot somebody. So would it have been okay for her to shoot Draka? Would it have been okay for her to do that because she felt threatened? Because he was the aggressor and confronting her. Would it have been okay for her to just shoot him right there? Because he was approaching her aggressively. I doubt it. I highly doubt it.
Yo, like I said, so we'll have to wait and see what the prosecutor, the county prosecutor, the state prosecutor, we'll have to see what they say. I can't make any prediction, but there should be charges, obviously, because this was clear murder. But one more thing that really rubs me the wrong way about this is that it took a day. It took a day for law enforcement to come to the decision that no charges should be applicable in this case. It takes weeks, months, years to determine if charges are applicable when police officers shoot civilians. It takes a very long time. Let's think, just to point out just a few circumstances that we've talked about before on this show. DeCynthia Clements, she was shot and killed on March 12, 2018 in Illinois by Lieutenant Christian Jensen. They had about an hour to go over how they were going to bring this woman into custody.
They strategized.
They had many measures that they could have used, but she emerged from the vehicle. Lieutenant Jensen shot her dead.
What did she have on her?
She had a knife.
She had a
steak knife.
And
yes.
They actually knew that.
They knew it. They knew she had mental deficiencies as well. Still shot her dead, even though they had much time to plan. Shot her dead. Has there been any announcement of charges or anything about this case? Absolutely not. It's July right now. We're at the end of July. This happened in March. Stephon Clark. This happened March 18th, earlier this year. Has there been anything? Has there even been have they even revealed the findings from the state autopsy? Nope. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. How about Deontay Yarber, Barstow, California. Shot and killed by police officers April 5th, 2018. Have we heard anything? Any updates? The only update I think I heard about that was just about like where he was shot, and there was another victim in the car, a female that was shot as well. She had to be airlifted to the hospital, but she survived. Have we heard any announcement of charges or anything? No. See, investigations take a very, very long time. That's what we hear all the time. Hey, we're weighing all the evidence. We're looking over video. We're doing our best. We're doing our due diligence to come to a determination. 1 day it took them. Less than a day. It took them less than a day to come to the determination that Michael Draka should not be charged at all, even though the video clearly shows that he was not being threatened at all when he shot. That's despicable, man. All right, so last story. This has to do with cops too, but luckily nobody got hurt. Something got hurt.
Well, let's just say that, you know, cops fingered the wrong person. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So
I'm talking about pointing either.
No, he is not. You'll get it. So a black man from Washington D.C. has filed a lawsuit against a Metropolitan D.C. officer who got too comfortable with the man's nether regions. Okay, so according to court documents, MB Cottenham was celebrating his birthday on September 17, 2017, and was with his friends outside sitting on folding chairs when two Metro DC police cruisers pulled up. They had just opened a bottle of alcohol and asked the officers if they should pour it out. The officer said that wouldn't be necessary. However, the officers then asked if any of the men had guns on them. They responded, no. They responded in the negative. We ain't got nothing, man. Sorry, we ain't got nothing. Officer Sean Lojocano?
I
think it's Lojocano. Or it could be Lohocano. It could be Lohocano or Lojocano. But Officer Lohocano asked Cottenham what was in his sock. Cottenham revealed a small baggie of marijuana, an amount that is legal in Washington, D.C. Cottenham then asked Officer Lohocano if he needed to do the hokey pokey, which is street slang for, you know, lifting up your shirt, slowly turn around so that the cop can see that you don't have anything on you. So Officer Lohocano then initiated a search, and at this point, we're just going to let the video tell the rest of the story.
Here you go. Alright, man, let him do his thing. No, he grabbing my shit. Come on, man. Come on, man. Hold, you stuck your finger in my ass. Hey, he don't got nothing on him. He alright? Yeah, don't do that. He don't got nothing on him. He stuck his finger in my crack, man. Don't do that, man. Nah, he don't got nothing. Come on, man. He don't got nothing on him. Bro, I don't have nothing. He just stuck his finger in my crack. That ain't gonna get it right. I am a man, bro. Yeah. Yes, sir. No problem. Alright, man, we're just waiting on a female to get served. This the wrong neighborhood, man. There ain't nothing going on, y'all. Come on, man. Stop fingering me, though, bruh. Moving. You fingering my ass, man. I'm outside your pants, bro. Relax. Man, that's still my asshole, man. What you doing, man? How you going like this? Bruh, I'll pull my pants down. Don't sit here and finger my ass like that, man, like I'm not a man, man. What the fuck is you doing, man? Did I ever say you weren't a man? You treating me like it, though, bruh. Don't rub your finger across my ass crack like that. Let me do yours. How would you feel? Come on, man. I'm tired of breaking the law, my man. I hear you, though, man, but come on with that right there, man. Don't demasculate me, man. I'm a man, brother. You mean emasculate? Demasculate. I know what I said. Demasculate. Well, whatever. You know, in lieu of not locking you up, put this in the way and pour this out. Okay, DRU is pulling in the wrong head. Pull that cup up right there, too. Oh, good enough, man. This ain't about nothing. You all right? Yeah, we good. We good. We good. Y'all have a good day. Thank y'all. You know what? Hey, home. How y'all doing, World Star? How y'all doing, World Star? Free to read, free to work home. I got all that shit on camera, too. You going in his ass, too. All that stuff going right to your captain, man. They ain't have to do all that wild stuff. Y'all know that wild shit.
First off, sitting in lawn chairs near a sidewalk requires cops or prompts police officers to ask whether citizens have guns? Now, that's all they're doing is sitting on the sidewalk in chairs and lawn chairs or whatever.
And let's be clear about something else too. The alcohol that they had open, the officers couldn't see that because that was behind a parked car. So that's not the reason why they even showed up and started asking them these questions.
And even if they did, you would only have grounds to deal with what you see.
Right.
You are.
Why are you assuming firearm if you see alcohol?
I mean, I don't understand. Again, I don't understand what gave them the idea that these individuals had guns. Is this the new way that people do drive-bys or something? They sit in lawn chairs on the sidewalk, sipping Hennessy, looking unsuspicious, and then shoot the people that's driving by. Is that the new way they do? Is that the new way they do drive-bys or something? So I'm just trying to figure out what about this situation, I guess would cause police officers to think that these individuals had guns, other than, let's just say, them being black.
Oh, there you go.
Because this looks like
there you go.
This is like a stop and frisk situation.
It does.
To me,
that's exactly what this is. They had no reason, like you said, to think that these particular gentlemen had guns on them. They asked them the question. Maybe you see a group of people congregating, right? Hey, a group of black guys congregating in Washington, D.C., that's got to be suspicious, right? So let's stop and ask them some questions. Okay, you ask them the questions. Do they got firearms? They're at no, like, they don't have to show you anything. Like, you have no reason to believe it. You didn't see any bulges. Like the thing that you said, okay, what's in your sock? He pulled it out. What he has is legal amount of marijuana. You have not seen them commit any crimes. You have not seen anything that suggests that they are about to commit a crime. You have no probable cause whatsoever. All you want to do is make trouble. And then you have the nerve to handcuff this guy because you're sticking your finger up his ass? And he doesn't like it?
And like during his objection, the officer says, I can't have you out here breaking the law, man. I think I made that out correctly. He said something breaking the law. Yeah. Is that what he said?
Can't have you breaking the law.
I can't have you. But I was like, but apparently he didn't break the law enough to be arrested. What law was he breaking? Yes, people can't be out here breaking the law, but cops also can't be out here assuming people are breaking laws when there's no visual evidence that they are. So that comment from the officers is very puzzling. I can't have you out here breaking the law. I was like, I can walk up to anybody and say that.
Can't you say that to these cops?
Yes, I can walk up to anybody and just say, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to search you. I'm going to do whatever I want to, because I can't be out here letting you break the law. I'm like,
but it seems like these cops are breaking the law too. Like you're over here illegally searching this dude, MB Cottenham, because what? It seems like there's no other reason but that he is black.
And check this out. Again, like, why not give him a warning? Like, why just do that? Like, do like an evasive maneuver, evasive search like that. Like, if you're going to do that, why didn't he at least warn the dude? That's the problem I have. Like, you just assume that somebody's not going to have some sort of like I guess reflex action, because you never know. Some people may have had a more I guess exaggerated reflex action. Like he didn't. He was like, oh man, somebody could have thrown their head back or thrown their leg back. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's different.
Oh, and then it would have been assault.
Of course. And again, like, who knows? I don't know, how I would have reacted in that situation. I don't know, man, because I mean, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, man, I don't play by my asshole, dog. I don't play about that, man.
Look, man. Again,
like I don't just know.
Searches like that.
Neither one.
I'm just saying, searches like that usually happen when you are under arrest or when you are in the jail and you are about to receive some jail out, like a jail outfit, a prison outfit, something like that. They got to make sure you're not bringing anything in. When you're on the damn street in folding chairs with your friends, doing nothing to indicate that any crime is forthcoming, what reasonable suspicion do officers have? Or what excuse would an officer have to just pull up out of nowhere? They didn't say they got a call about anything. They didn't get a call about anything. They just pulled up out of nowhere, saw a group of black men sitting down, and decided to initiate an in-depth search like that, to where you're like, you saw the video. we can't, of course, we can't see the finger like going in the damn asshole, nothing like that. But you can see like he's all up in the testicular region right here, and he's doing all of this multiple times. Why do you need to do that when you don't even have reasonable suspicion?
And what did he say? Again, another one of his justifications when the guy he was searching, made his objections known was, I'm outside of your pants. That's what he said. Like, I'm on the outside of your pants. I'm like, what?
That doesn't matter. You're still touching my asshole. Get the hell off my asshole, man. So, I mean, look.
What about that the antagonization of, like,
when they were leaving?
Yeah, the whole was like, what's going on or something. What did he say? He's
World
like,
Star.
Yeah, he was like, how you doing, World Star?
Yeah.
And I was like, that seems like unnecessary antagonization. And like what was the point of that? Like,
they know their authority. They know their authority.
That seems like the actions of individuals who know that there's no consequences to their actions and no consequences that they're going to face, I guess, based on how they treat people.
That's why I hope this lawsuit is successful. This is a civil lawsuit, I believe. I hope it's successful. And look, man, this officer, he has displayed that he has no business on the force. He has no business on the force. Of course, you know he's not going to be fired. I doubt that he even got reprimanded in any way because of this incident. They probably just had a good laugh about it. Because I haven't heard anything about a reprimand or anything like that.
I dug in his ass and he can't do anything about it.
And then I yelled World Star as we were driving away.
Yeah, they're probably laughing about that over drinks at whatever bar these fools go to after they get off the beat. You know what I mean?
They think they can do everything. And the whole thing about stop and frisk too. Of course, man, we saw this being used way too damn much in New York City. And since it has been dramatically reduced because it was deemed not unconstitutional. But in Washington, D.C., in 2017, Metro cops stopped and frisked over 4,000 people, 4,234 people. 3,000. No. Okay. Of the 3,966 stop and frisk cases where police recorded the race of the individual, 89.3% of the individuals were black, or 3,542. White people, they were stopped 10% of the time, or they accounted for 10% of the cases, 397 of them. So 397 white people, 3,542 black people. Washington, D.C. is about 47% black and 36% white. Now, if police officers are just doing their job, and they're just like, hey, I see some suspicious behavior right here. Let me check this guy out. Let me check this woman out and make sure nothing's going on. If 47% of the population is black, then that would kind of fit the statistics of your stop and frisk. But this seems like it's very disproportional. It almost seems like Metro police officers are actually targeting black people. But they wouldn't do that, would they? They wouldn't target black people to stop and frisk, now would they?
Absolutely not. I just can't see that happening. Not at all. Not at all, buddy.
This is why I laugh when... And, it is white people. Of course, it's usually conservative white people that say, hey, blacks commit more crimes. Word? Blacks commit more crimes, huh? Let's say that I have 10 people, okay? Because let's just deal with the numbers here, okay? Because about 90% of the stop and frisks were black people and 10% were white people. So let's say I stop 10 people and 9 of those people are black and 1 is white. I'd have to get it on the nose to get the one white person that's committing a crime. But I got 9 opportunities to find 1 black person that is committing a crime. I might even find 2 or 3. But I have to be perfect if I only stop 1 white person. Do you understand? Like, it's ridiculous. Police officers are targeting black and brown communities, and that's being revealed in these statistics. Of course, the statistics revealed that when you account for population numbers, that black and brown people commit more crimes than white people. White people aren't being targeted by police officers.
I think that's one of the main factors. It's like you could target any group, and you can target any
and
group
fuck up
you
the
want
numbers.
to, and fuck up the numbers, because the numbers are essentially based on how you approach it, and to not kind of mention the socioeconomic factors involved as well, and the conditions that some of these people live in. It's just very dishonest, because once you control for those factors, you know what happened to the numbers? They balance out. So what does that tell you?
Tells me that black people are being targeted.
And also, you know what happens when you target people for nonviolent situations in these conditions that they live in. When you criminalize nonviolent crimes, when you do that, you create a situation where people are going to, how can I say, be more desperate to cover up for those crimes. It's like, especially drugs. If you make drugs legal, you take it out of the black market. There's no territory to protect. You see what I'm saying? There's no market to protect. There's no black market to protect. There's no drug game. You know what I'm saying? Also, again, if you're looking at socioeconomic factors that are involved, what most likely are going to happen to gangs? What are most likely going to happen to gangs if the socioeconomic environment in certain areas changes?
They probably begin to dissipate, wouldn't they?
Probably begin to dissipate over a short period of time.
Yeah, over a period of time they would. It's ridiculous, man. In New York City, of course, that was where it was happening more than anywhere else, these stop and frisk. And there were assessments of this, and they revealed that these stop and frisk policies, or the stop and frisk policy, it didn't do anything to curb crime at all. It had no impact on crime whatsoever. And then most of the people that were stopped and frisked, the overwhelming majority of them weren't committing any crimes. Of course, there are going to be exceptions. Of course, you caught some people doing some things. But again, when you target black people and brown people, more so than white people, like overwhelmingly more so than white people, of course, who's going to be filling up the jails are people of color, not white people.
I'm glad you mentioned the stop and frisk wasn't only unconstitutional. It actually was inconsequential.
Ineffective.
It was ineffective and inconsequential. Right. As far as I guess if you're looking at like crime prevention,
did nothing.
Yeah, it was. They pretty much, like, their hit rate was very, 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 very low. And so they were working extremely hard to catch a small number of people. They were like trying to find crime where crime doesn't exist. If people are committing crime so vigorously, it should not be hard to catch.
And then the crimes that they were catching, nonviolent crimes. You might have been catching some people with bags of cocaine, maybe. You might caught some people with bags of marijuana.
And like even the whole thing was trying to stop violent crime. That was the motive behind stop and frisk, to try to stop violent crime. Matter of fact, even that's bumped because violent crime was actually going down. It had nothing to do with stop and frisk.
No,
it was going down before stop and frisk policies were introduced. So that's bogus.
How is a stop and frisk going to stop violent crime? The only time stop and frisk is going to stop a violent crime is if you see a violent crime and then stop it, I'm gonna frisk you. That's the only. Come on, man. Come on.
This ain't no doggone Minority Report where you can just run a profile right there. Just running like a profile on somebody that's standing right there, and you know what they're gonna do.
Again, man, like I said, that's why I laugh when I hear this argument. Black people are filling the jail cells up. They're just a more violent race than white people. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure they are. Has nothing to do with what law enforcement precincts are doing all across the country and targeting communities of color. Right, has nothing to do with that whatsoever. They're putting themselves in the situation where they can only deal with the black community or the brown community, right? But yeah, white people are not violent. All right.
Or committing crime.
Yeah, or committing crimes. Yeah. So this is a black problem. All right. We got to the end of the show. I think we made a good time. Like I said, we had like a little 5-10 minute hang up at the beginning.
There was only like one of y'all in the room. He was like, "Yo, what's going on with this, man?"
And
There's
it
only
was
one of y'all
just
up in
us. It was just us, man.
True that. So it wasn't really nobody in the room. We don't count. We was watching ourselves.
But anyway, we're gonna open it up for calls now, and we would love to hear your voice and your opinions on anything that we have talked about today. And the number to call is 669-900-6833. Like I said, please give us a call so we can get you on the air and you can communicate to us what you feel about these issues, or even if something else that we have not talked about.
Something else.
Maybe you can address it. This is your time to shine, okay?
Feel some kind of way about.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Open mic.
Open mic. Open mic.
Ain't had nobody rap on the show yet.
No, see, don't even see. Now you done said it, man. Somebody gonna try to display their freestyle skills.
This ain't your platform to boost your rap career, right? Because we ain't got it like that yet. Right?
Yo, because if you gonna do that,
freestyle,
man, you do that. I'll treat this like American Idol.
I know.
And be like, I'll be Simon. And be like, that's a no from me. That's a no from me.
I'm gonna be Sway. Be like, all right, I'm gonna get you a beat. Go ahead. Oh, okay. Sway.
Well, you know what? It depends on like what situation you're referencing as far as Sway.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you there's a handful of our viewers that will probably do a better job than Iggy Azalea did on Sway.
Oh my gosh. Don't even bring that up.
Yo, if y'all ever get a chance, go look up Iggy Azalea freestyle fail or Sway, and that shit is pathetic, dog. That's how you know she ain't about shit. And I don't trust anybody who likes. If you like Iggy Azalea, you think she can rap, I don't trust you.
Yeah,
I don't trust your judgment.
That's worse than trash, man.
I don't want you around my imaginary kids.
You have to find another adjective than trash, man. Or
it was like if there was like I don't know, like a garbage can that you throw like a garbage can in. That's what it was. It was like the garbage can for other garbage cans. It was so bad.
It was like, damn, you're seriously doing this for a living?
And how are you making money doing it?
I know, man.
You know who I blame T.I. Because that's who's backing. That's who
put her on.
I blame T.I. when there's plenty of other very talented rappers that I can name off the top of my head that don't get any attention, like Lady LaShore, Rhapsody, even Lil Mama. Like, she fell off, but there's too many like good female chick rappers out there.
Dang, this other one is not connecting, man.
To not give them like, what I'm saying, some shine, but you give them some damn. Not only that, like, she was like singing some different type of music, like a year before her rap career started. She was singing completely different music. Her voice and voice inflection, not the same. Her tone was not the same. She sounded like she sounded like? She sounded like a very like if the Brat was very disoriented. Remember the Brat from Atlanta?
Yeah.
That's kind of how she sounded. The Brat, my bad. The Brat. She sounded like how the Brat would sound if the Brat was like disoriented, like on meth or something.
On meth.
Specifically meth.
On meth.
Yes, on meth, and like she just swallowed some marbles.
My man Mike, man.
Yo, that's how Iggy sounds to me. There was one scene I saw of one of her concerts, and you couldn't understand what she was saying.
Oh, I remember that one. I remember that one. It was like, hold on, run that back. Run that back, Izzy.
Yeah.
What you say, man?
I was like, what? It was bad.
Yeah,
it
man.
was bad.
But
and again, that Sway in the Morning.
Yeah,
like,
I haven't heard her much
that Sway
lately.
In the Morning
though.
exposed her. Like everybody. See, that's the problem. Like, when you go on Sway in the Morning show, you already know what you're going there for. Everybody does it. It's not a new thing.
Oh,
go
no.
in there,
You know what you're about to do.
Most freestyles are either pre-prepared. So you don't come with something prepared. I've seen people come with something on their phone.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't Method Man. He was on some other show, and he came with his phone, but it was all the bars was tight.
You remember Common?
Oh, Common. That was straight freestyle.
Yo, Common put it away, man.
Have you ever seen?
And he went two. He went two.
He did two different ones.
Man, what?
What's the other dude who hosts rappers that freestyle? Flex.
Yeah.
Funkmaster Flex. He does like a little freestyle session. Yeah. Man. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you already know what you're gonna do. You know, you already know what time it is before you come there. So that was just like, that was just so slack on her part, man.
So Moose Guy was saying, blah blah blah. She said, well, she's asking to have we ever been stopped and frisked? If so, how did that make you feel? I've never been stopped and frisked. You like you would have to. It would have to be more of a city environment for that to happen. Like in South Carolina, there is downtown, of course, and people are walking around, but you know, it's not like a great big city atmosphere. People, you do have to drive to get around here, or you know, bus transportation. So, like if you're in the city, yeah, you can walk. But you're gonna have to get there by car or bus or something like that. So I don't think there's a lot of stop and frisk going on.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of foot traffic.
No,
in the city we live in or city we live outside of.
Yeah,
and
there would have to be sidewalks.
If there is
like
traffic, it's mainly like confined to a certain time period on certain nights.
Yeah,
like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night when people go out. And there's a bunch of people in one area, so that's not even.
But we've been out there, and I've never seen that.
Yeah, there's not even a situation where people would stop and frisk them.
I've seen harassment. You've seen harassment, but you don't.
We've seen harassment.
Yeah, we've seen harassment.
Well,
but
I've been harassed a few times.
Like actually being targeted and be like, okay, you know, lift up your shirt. Let me. Nah, I haven't seen that here.
Yeah, they target people in different ways. It's not like that.
Yeah, not like that here.
But, L Train asked, did we see Black Thought on Funk Flex? Yes, I did. And,
I didn't see that.
And in my opinion, like Black Thought to me, like all time, like as far as me, I guess listening to the genre almost all my life up until, you know, I mean, from when I was just young, like a little 4 or 5 year old up until now, Black Thought to me is like #1, man, because the stuff that he freestyles off of his dome, man, is crazy, man. And I know, like, as far as Eminem, he can put together, like, words with a lot of syllables that sound kind of crazy, but they're really random. Some of them follow a line or, like, a storyline or follow some sort of subject matter. But for the most part, Eminem is a more, like, sporadic, spacey, abstract freestyler or rapper. Not taking anything away from him, but if you listen to Black Thought, it's more well put together, and everything is put together, and his timing is much better, and he talks about things that are a little less superficial than Eminem does. And also, if you ever watch that show, I think it's Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah,
it's him. It's basically the Roots.
Yeah, it is.
The Roots is the in-house band, and they do some freestyle stuff that's crazy, man. And they're just some talented dudes. Him and what's the drummer? What's the dude's name? Questlove.
Yeah, Questlove.
That joke is like a doggone genius, man.
Yeah,
Questlove is a damn genius. Y'all remember that Dave Chappelle block party?
Mm-hmm.
That Dave Chappelle block party?
Yep.
From like 8 years ago or something. It had like Erykah Badu. I'm not sure if it had Common. I know it had Mos Def. You know who wrote the music for all of the performance? You know who wrote the music? It was Questlove. He wrote all the music, not at least most of it, but not just like the drumming part, because he's on the drum. He wrote most of the stuff. He was a genius, man.
I was like, you know, this is about rap too. I mean, we ain't got any callers, but I hadn't heard about the beef, and this is going back to earlier this year, I believe. The beef with
Drake.
Nah, not Drake. I know about that beef. I'm talking about somebody that I don't know how many people know of, but he's playing the background now. He's doing a lot of writing, Mad Skills.
Yeah, Mad Skills. Yeah.
But he had a beef with. See, I don't think I heard of this dude, but I'm not that familiar with him. You don't know what I'm talking about?
I have no clue, man.
So I saw this dude because of I think it's on Facebook, the BET rate the lyrics or whatever like that.
Yeah,
rate the bars,
man. I like that, man.
Yeah,
like
but I saw this dude and he was talking about like the beef between him and Mad Skills. So I looked it up. Uncle Murder, that's it. Uncle Murder. You ever heard of him before?
Never heard of him.
See, he's like a clown type individual, really. But like, so Skills does like a end of the year, like a I forgot what it's called. Wrap up. He does like an end of the year wrap up, right? Where he's like rapping about all the things that happened in the year, right? Uncle Murder straight just yanked it from him, right? Like, I mean, Skills still does his, but Uncle Murder like started doing it and just like he just like took it from him, right? So Skills ain't really had nothing to say about it. He didn't have nothing to say, even though Uncle Murder was like calling him out a few times, like being disrespectful. It wasn't even like he was like, yeah, big up to my man Skills that did this, blah blah. No, he was being straight disrespectful, right? So then it like all came to a head early this year, and Skills actually put out like a diss track on him, right? It wasn't fire like Ether. You know what I'm saying? You remember Ether? Nas and Jay-Z. It wasn't fire like that, but it was still impressive. Then Uncle Murder released like this weak response, and it wasn't even like when like you have a certain time period to respond to somebody. I think it's like 48 hours, right?
48 hours, man.
This dude released like a week later,
yeah.
And it was weak.
You know what?
And it was weak.
Better a week later than responding with like a press release and trying to explain yourself.
Why? Come on, man. Why are you putting Drake on blast like that, man?
Because, man, all
why
this
you
stuff
putting
sounds
Drake
so
on blast,
like same and whiny, man. And
he was like, look, man, I gotta tell y'all something. It is, especially in the rap game. It seemed weak.
Exactly.
It seemed weak in the rap game.
You're not going to respond with another diss track. You do not respond with a press release trying to explain yourself based on how the other rapper dissed you and what he brought out.
Yeah, you got to respond with a diss.
Just in case we get callers, I don't want to miss this opportunity to highlight Gear Randon for sliding some money through the super chat. Appreciate
Big up
that,
Gear
man.
Randon. L Train had a comment earlier today about guns, and he said, he said, honestly, I wish we can go back to the days of hand-to-hand combat and no guns. Force everyone to take up a martial art. Maybe that will calm some folks down. Yo, it would force people to use their hands in self-defense or in offense. Like if you actually want to go up against somebody, like if you actually want to commit a crime against somebody, you got to use your hands. And you're going to have to be able to defend with your hands as well. You ain't going to have that gun to be like, all right, don't move. That would be beautiful, man. I'm all
like people like that. I guess like when we're talking about guns, we hear things like, "Oh, a gun is the great equalizer," and sometimes that's true in certain cases. But to me, guns are like a great imbalancer, actually,
because it doesn't promote strength. It has nothing to do with strength. You can be the weakest person in the damn world, have a gun, and now you're all of a sudden like this gun gave you all amounts of strength and power. Now it's like it's fake. Like if you actually want to do something against somebody else, use your hands. Why not, right?
Miss Tree is, I guess, giving us some video recommendations, but not a serious video recommendation. It doesn't look like. She says, check that out. You'll be stupefied. Name of the video on YouTube is Roswell, Georgia. Canine attacks compliant black teen, then turns on handler. Story
really?
Okay.
Really? Okay.
Oh, when I say stupefied, she did mean serious. So it's like canine attacks.
So the damn dog turned on.
That's crazy. So how does that even happen? So how does that happen? The handler sicks the dog on the suspect. And then the dog turns.
These dogs are trained.
Exactly. I mean, your training didn't stick hard enough. I
pressed into action or something.
I gotta see that one. I gotta get confirmation. I gotta get visual confirmation on that one.
Yes, L Train talking about ghost guns, and we talked about that. This was Ooh, this was a few months ago we talked about ghost guns, but I know that's in the news right now because of the 3D guns that are, you know, the plans. I believe it's August 1st where the plans are going to be able to be released so that anybody can download those plans and make them. So yeah, ghost guns are pretty much, they are not regulated whatsoever. It's a serious problem. We might talk about this Thursday maybe. But yeah, we've talked about ghost guns before and how you can virtually just make your own weapon. You can make an AK-40 and AK-47. I mean, you can make the various types of assault rifles, handguns, and all without a background check. You know, you can have a criminal record, doesn't matter. So, yeah, guns shouldn't be in the hands of criminals, but per the United States government, guns can be in the hands of criminals. Doesn't make much sense. We are the so we have the most gun crime than any other country, right? And we are coincidentally we are also the only country where the guns outnumber its people. Coincidentally, though, that doesn't have anything to do with anything.
One other interesting thing is that I don't think sometimes people recognize what they actually advocate for by how they, I guess, rhetorically attack the issue. And one of the ways, probably the main way people do that as far as rhetorically attacking this kind of gun debate, gun issue, is they say things like, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And I'm like, that's why the majority of people in America support what? Background checks. That's, again, I don't think people recognize that's what they're advocating for.
Right.
You just said people kill people. No shit. That's the point of trying to strengthen background checks and gun show loopholes. Like, if you're going to say that, then you gotta have to acknowledge that that's how most people are trying to attack the problem. But then when people try to attack it that way, you're like...
But see, we've virtually reached consensus on that matter, on universal background checks. As a citizenry, as the constituency, we've already almost reached consensus on that matter. But who hasn't come to that revelation is Congress. For some reason. It's like most of us, it's like over 90%. Last figure I saw maybe was like 97% of us, something like that. We all agree on universal background checks. That means for every purchase of a firearm, there is a background check. But for some reason, 97% of us agree on it, but 97% of Congress members don't. Now, they're people too, right?
They are people too. But the difference in those people serving in Congress is... I'm
trying to hear some wisdom, man. I'm trying to hear some wisdom, man.
Is that they may be influenced by a particular organization. That may be it. You know what's so funny? People are disingenuous, right, when they talk about, you know, money in politics, getting money out of politics, getting money's influence out of politics, but then they don't address the NRA issue. You're full of shit. You're full of shit, dog. Full of dookie, dog.
That's number one. It's the number one issue, man. Money in politics, man. If we were able to actually do something about that, man, maybe we actually could create the country that we so desperately need, man. If we could actually do something about that, it would be easier to create that kind of country. Because then you would remove that influence.
You remove the influence and the incentive.
The incentive, yeah. Of cashing in.
Yeah. You remove that one incentive and, like, people would, you know, straighten up.
Yeah. Because then they wouldn't be like, okay, so hold on. So if I take these horrible positions, I'm not going to get paid for it? Huh. Why would I do it then?
They'll think twice about taking those positions, and those positions will most likely be filled with people who want to do the right thing. Most likely, you know what I'm saying?
Not only. Wait, hold on. Say it again. Say it again.
Those positions will most likely be filled with people who want to do the right thing.
Right, because if you're not going to cash in on horrible positions, right, then why would you run for office?
Why would you?
Like, if you don't have an interest in doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing, there's no money in it.
There's no money. Damn, you said it right there. There's no money in doing the wrong thing.
then you wouldn't even. There's no money in doing the wrong thing. It seems like basic logic, man.
That's how you know it's set up like that.
But hey, the Trump administration, you remember he was going to drain the swamp. Trump administration, remember, with the whole new policy announced by the Treasury Department, making it so dark money is even more influential in the whole electoral process.
And that new policy that was kind of rolled out by the Treasury Department was conveniently passed like the week Trump's lawyers lost an appeal. That appeal was through the courts in New York, and what's going to I guess happen shortly is the Trump Foundation is about to get audited. There's going to be an attack inquiry into the Trump Foundation. Do you think it's a coincidence that this kind of new tax announcement by the Treasury Department, where there are certain nonprofit organizations who don't have to reveal their donors, you think they rolled that out last week, that same week that the Trump Foundation was going to be facing an inquiry? You think that was a coincidence?
It's got to be.
Or is it a coincidence that the Department of Justice arrested Maria Butina, who had ties to the NRA? She posed as an activist. She was supposedly she's suspected to be a Russian agent,
and offered sex to somebody within a special interest group. We don't know what group it was.
And that same day she was arrested, that's the same day that the Treasury Department issued their new rules about nonprofits and exposing their donors. And guess what organization is affected by that? The NRA. It's happened on the same day that chick was arrested now. I guess that's a coincidence for you.
All of it.
Guess that's
none of this is connected to each other.
None of it.
These are standalone issues and decisions being made.
You know what? I have no problem with people dealing with things as a standalone issue, such as like Mueller's investigation. I have no problem if people want to honestly deal with each little point as a standalone issue, but I think people are purposely approaching the issue like looking for something specific. And if that something specific is not there, they think the entire investigation is a farce. The entire investigation is like illegitimate. I'm like, but you're looking for the wrong thing. I was like, you don't go to like the convenience store down the street, I don't know, to buy a refrigerator or a lawnmower when they don't sell it.
Right.
You don't say, hey, I'm looking for a lawnmower, and they don't have it. Well, hey, this convenience store is illegitimate. I'm like, well, we don't have it. We never advertised that we had it. So like, I don't like mind if people don't want to buy into like the Russia hysteria in regards to Russian meddling. That shit I don't care about. If people don't want to buy into like the Russian nationals that were indicted, I actually don't care about that. If you want to deny any of that stuff or say any of that stuff is a farce, I'm actually okay with that. But many people who I've talked to in my political circle, they have pointed out the whole Podesta group thing.
Right.
They pointed out the Podesta group thing, where Tony Podesta, John Podesta's brother, their group, their firm, was caught not disclosing, I guess, a lobbying for a foreign agent. They were actually caught up. The only reason that they were caught is why. Why, Will? Why was the main reason why they were caught doing what they were doing? Who were they connected to?
Who? Podestas? The Podestas? Was it Manafort?
It was Manafort.
You sure it's Manafort?
It's Manafort.
It was Manafort. Yeah, it was Manafort.
One of those, they were kind of in it together. They didn't do the same thing. There was some sort of foreign entity that they were lobbying for. Now, the Podesta group claims that they did not know that they were lobbying for a foreign agency or foreign entity. But I guess those who looked at the case, the authorities, the investigators that looked at the case, found that the Podesta group didn't follow proper protocol to verify that. So they could be lying. But the only reason why they were caught is because of the Mueller investigation.
Right.
And because it's connected to Manafort. And like I said, they didn't do the same thing. They didn't do the same thing Manafort did. They just may have like some sort of FEC violation, to whereas Manafort created false businesses. I'm talking about like in the 50s.
So again, what you're explaining is that the Mueller investigation is bearing fruit.
It's bearing fruit, and actually, like for a particular group that has to do with Hillary Clinton. And I've seen a lot of people in my political circles push this and push that story because it's connected to Clinton, the Podesta group.
So if you push that story, then you're supportive
if you're pushing that story, then you are supportive of that particular part of the Mueller investigation.
Right.
You can't be particular and support one part and then not the other parts, especially when there's a finding that maybe I guess points to a character that you don't like, or you already have a preconditioned hate for, right. And it's a legitimate hate. It's Hillary Clinton. It's a group connected to Hillary Clinton,
no doubt.
But the only reason why it was caught is because Manafort was caught. Guess who was cooperating with Mueller in regards to the Manafort trial that is going to begin, I think, on the 31st. It got pushed back. Tony Podesta and the Podesta group. So again, if you're going to kind of, again, I've seen a lot of people in my political circles acknowledge this part of the investigation, and for some strange reason conveniently leave out the fact that it's Mueller who was led to the Podesta group through the Manafort investigation. It's kind of disingenuous. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, if you're just going into it looking for something, then I think that's the wrong way to look at it. You just need to look at it from what is actually there. You're going to have to conclude that Manafort, Papadopoulos, Gates, Page, there's another dude named like Alex Van From something. I can't remember. There's like a Palladino something dude. Like, you have to like say that all those plea deals and all those indictments are fake as well, and that's just a bit dismissive, and that's disingenuous. Like, you just can't toss out everything because you don't want to believe in one part. And that's the whole Russian meddling thing. I don't give a fuck about that. You know what I'm saying? I think people are purposely going into it with that mindset. Since I don't see that, everything else is fake. And that's just not true. Looks like we ain't gonna have no calls.
Yeah,
though.
I don't think we're having any calls tonight, which will, I don't know that that's happened. Well, I think that happened maybe just a few weeks ago, maybe, I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, L Train. Yeah, we did talk about the Who is America, the latest episode. So yeah, you can go back and watch that. Jason Spencer, man. Boy, like I said, man, that was funny. Snork said, "I love the guy threatening to use his butt to turn the guy gay."
Yeah,
definitely will be his campaign poster. I don't think you're gonna see that dude in politics again, man. I mean, hey, as is the case a lot of times with these former politicians, they get gigs, lined up at firms, lobbying firms or whatever. I'm not sure if anybody's gonna want to touch him though. He might be a little bit too toxic.
Yeah, he's a little bit too toxic.
Yeah.
Like, I think like people don't even understand like my positioning or our positioning on the Rush thing. I'm like, you can't ask us to stop talking about something. And for the most part, have we talked about it? No. Like, we've actually not talked about it at all. We don't really devote a lot of time to talking about it because we don't feel the need to. We just want people to put it in its proper context and stop being like so naive about it. Because sometimes like I guess those of us on the left like have a tendency to bestow like innocence upon anyone or any country or any leader that finds itself like in opposition to the United States. There's like automatic innocence because I think we are hypersensitive to the imperialistic activities and nature of this country, rightfully so. We're just hypersensitive to that because we understand what this country is about. But like, I think people like just need to stop being naive about, Putin himself. You know what I'm saying? He's essentially a capitalist who most of his allegiances are, I guess tied to enriching, the elite class, just like the United States. And so we need to stop treating him like he's some sort of choir boy. We just need to put him in his the correct context and the correct spot. That's all. Like,
Muska was saying she's for banning guns. She says that you and me don't have that position, don't share her position.
Yeah, I don't share that position.
I don't know that I don't, man. Straight up, I don't know that I don't. I hate guns, straight up. I don't like to be around guns, not at all. I don't care if it's a police officer. I don't care if it's a military officer. I don't like being around guns because if you're around a gun, then you're around somebody that has a gun. And I don't trust humans. Straight up, I don't trust humans. Now, if it's somebody that I know, I still wouldn't like it. Still would not like it. But maybe I would feel comfortable knowing that person. I would gather that. But for people that I don't know that are just walking around with guns that I know, like I'm in somebody's home, a neighbor's home that has a gun. My children may be in the home of somebody that has a gun. Nah, I'm not comfortable with that at all. I'm not comfortable standing next to police officers because they have those weapons. I don't know what's going to make them flip. You don't know what's going on in these people's lives. You're not in them. You don't see them on a day-to-day basis. You don't know what they're carrying with them. So you don't there's no way that you can understand what will make this particular individual flip and when it's going to happen. So I'm not for guns. I understand that it's not going to happen. Especially, I mean, if it does happen, it's definitely not anytime soon. Nowhere near that point whatsoever. But just like what I feel about guns, I'm totally against them.
True. I don't think I'm totally against them. But I think, I guess living in this type of country that cherishes and worships guns, maybe that's why I'm leaning to your side. But I think that's just circumstantial. I think you're going to that extreme because of the environment we live in. So Gene wants me to go ahead and talk about Russia in the proper context. Maybe the fact that the focus is Russia is the problem. Maybe because the focus is Russia and that's what you're looking into. And Russia definitely is not the biggest problem, that we're facing right now. It's very low on a priority. It's very low on a priority. The reason why it becomes an issue is because of a possible relationship that a leader of another country has with our leader. That should be the focus. And quite possibly, we have a sitting president that could face blackmail from multiple directions based on the people he has chosen to associate with. That's the problem. It's not even about Russia. I think that's why people are kind of quick to deny it, because they're making it about Russia and not about, let's say, bank fraud or wire fraud or money laundering or taxes or campaign finance rules. Why can't you make it about that? People should stop making it about Russia, because it's actually bigger than that. Because Flynn is not a fucking Russian. Papadopoulos is not a fucking Russian. Gates is not a Russian. Page is not a Russian. Pineda is not a Russian. None of those people are Russian. Those are Manafort. These are people who do lobbying work here. Those are fucking Americans. Rohrabacher is not a Russian. But he might be caught up with one, and that's actually creates a campaign finance problem that creates a money and politics problem. So we don't have a Russia problem. We have American officials who are corrupt problem, which connects to that. If you think of it like that, maybe you stop the bullshit. Because if you look at, like I said, what we mentioned before, the Treasury Department changing that rule as to nonprofit organizations not having to share donor information the same day that a supposed agent gets arrested, you think that's a coincidence? And the NRA just happened to be one of those nonprofit groups? You don't think that has to do with money and fucking politics?
See, get out of here. The whole thing with Russia is that, again, it's not at the top of the list. Okay, it's not something that we're gonna talk about like every show, or something that we want to talk about every show. Like, we respond to information that's in the news. Like, before Donald Trump had this Helsinki summit, and I forgot we forgot about it because this happened on a Monday, and I remember the show previous or that came before that was on Thursday, and again we kind of don't pay attention to what's coming up on the weekend or what's coming up on that Monday, whatever. I had no idea this was happening this soon. So when it happened, it was like, okay. And of course you're going to respond to it. Of course the media is going to respond to it, because the media does this really funny thing. It's really interesting. On matters that are concerning the president of the United States, they usually report on it. They usually have some kind of commentary on matters that are relevant to the president of the United States. And when the president of the United States is on stage with the president of Russia, and he's intimating that he believes Russia over the intelligence community, of course there's going to be a lot of backlash. So that's, that comes with the media. The media is going to have to respond to that, and we're going to have to call that out too, because Trump has been wishy-washy on this subject for months, right? So that's where we have to come in and be like, okay, we got to bring some truth to this, what's going on in the world right now and what Trump is saying. So it's not that Russia is the most important story. It's just that it is relevant to talk about. There are relevant things to talk about when there are indictments, when there are plea deals. Okay, not every time. Now, not every time that there have been plea deals and indictments have we had something to say about it, because, of course, there are other stories that will dominate our show. There's more important things to talk about. But when, like I said, when the president of the United States himself creates the story and he's saying that, no, he doesn't think Russia did it, and he doesn't believe in the intelligence community, that's a story. So it's not that the media is just like, hey, we're just creating this story and we're going to keep running it. The central figure in this whole thing is the president of the United States on his Twitter, always labeling this thing as a witch hunt. And then the Helsinki summit, he opened himself up for all of this commentary. So if people if people feel the need to talk about it, they're talking about something relevant. It's not Russia hysteria. It's not the Russian scare. It's not any of that. It's actual relevant topic.
I don't get why people somehow think that this is an attempt to go to war with Russia. I don't understand that.
Is Russia scary?
I know, is Russia scary? I don't know. I'm not scared to me. Again, like Ditzy said, it's not about Russia per se. It's about the Americans who are doing dirty deals around the world. And what we can actually talk about is Israel as well. You know what I'm saying? We can talk about Israel as well, and how a lot of our leaders over here are influenced by Israel. Why aren't people talking about that kind of influence? That's kind of open in your face. And there was kind of a recent article I read where apparently Benjamin Netanyahu admitted that he got Trump to kind of try to cancel the Iran deal. He was the one behind that. He was bragging about this in some sort of meeting.
Really?
Yeah. And so I guess when people bring up Israel, right, usually the proper response is not well, Israel is, not high on the priority list. People always put Israel on high on priority list because of our interactions with Israel. But see, that's open. And so we can talk about that and it's acceptable. But anyway, again, there's all kind of things involving one person and one person's affiliation all across the globe, his financial strings that are attached to him that could compromise him, and that's the president of the United States. If that's not an important issue to you, then I don't know. I don't know what to do for you.
Yeah, Moose Gal just talking. Yeah, firearms. I think I've communicated before that's not even though personally, the thought of guns is disgusting to me. I don't see the reason for guns. I want them gone, not just in this society, but all across the world. Even though that's my position, I'm not gonna advocate for the removal of all guns. I'm not gonna advocate for the banning of all our firearms, because I just know that that's not going to happen. That's not even a starting point. You know what I'm saying? I know we have to be, there's going to be some negotiation in this whole conversation about guns and what to do with what to do with them in this country. My starting point isn't going to be ban all firearms, because I know that's going to shut down the conversation. I don't think anybody's starting point should be ban all guns, because again, when we have more guns than people in the United States of America, when we have more guns than any other country in the world, it's just not even foreseeable that we would ever get to this point. Again, it's not on the horizon. I just can't see it. So we can do other things. There are other measures that we can take to make this society safer, and we can actually treat society like we're responsible adults. there's a lot of things that we can do. We don't have to go all the way to banning guns. So again, personally, I would do it, personally, but that's not something that I'm gonna take a position on and be like, hey, you don't want to ban all guns? Oh, come on. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm reasonable. You see, we just need reason in this argument.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's the correct way to form a question. It says, why is Israel bad? Like, Israel is, what is Israel, first off? It's more or less is why the situation bad. Why the formation of Israel actually created more of a problem. Why the formation of Israel and that occupation created a problem. That should be the question. Israel, why is Israel bad? Like, and Israel is not a monolith as well as far as the people who live there. So and everybody that lives there does not desire the same thing, no different than any other country. We just have a kind of somebody who's right wing who's in charge right now. But I don't think whoever's in charge would matter. It wouldn't change what the situation is and who it's affecting. Like I said, it's like, I don't know, why can't people apply common sense to this? When you push people off their land and kind of occupy territory that wasn't yours, it's not like it's not something that you have to rack your brain over. You can't see how that would kind of create a situation of resentment and, quite frankly, war. Like, it's not that hard to understand.
I've seen this before. Just Deplorable saying their land in quotations and talking about Palestinians, a unicorn never existed. You can call them bunnies.
You can call them snuffleupaguses.
Yeah, you can call them eggs. I mean, like, you can call them whatever term you want to.
Teletubbies?
Yeah. The whole point is that there were people there. So you can call them whatever you want to. If you want to call them Palestinians, if you don't want to call them Palestinians, if you want to call them any other term, Arab. You can call them whatever you want. The whole point is that there were people there, and of course they were pushed off of that land. See, that's the whole point. So I don't know why you would get caught up in like the terminology that they're using to describe these people. That's
it actually doesn't even matter. That's not the issue.
It's not the issue. It's not the issue.
And then people need to also, people who kind of advocate for Israel in any kind of way, kind of need to ask themselves, like, is the expansion justified? Mm-hmm. So you can talk about, well, Israel has a right to exist and Israel's already here. Okay, since that's already established, we already know that. Then can you justify the expansion of Israel? Why don't you answer that question? If you won't answer the whole occupation thing, if you're not going to answer the whole, the land occupation and the land theft and the land stealing, can you answer the question concerning the continued stealing of land? That's pretty simple.
True. Gene, earlier you said that you will call in one day, so we're gonna hold you to that. Obviously, it's not today or tonight.
Yeah, I know, because it's the session and over.
Yeah, we about to get out of here.
It's funny, man. It's like, court paved the way and cleared the way for everybody.
Exactly.
Ain't nobody called in.
He's like, yo, you know what? I'm dominating it. Let me back off a minute.
Court calls in, everybody, oh, wow,
and then you cutting into his time, right?
His time. You cutting into the court report.
Exactly, right? Now we got nothing but time. Nobody shows up. Like, what's up with that, man? But anyway, like I said, we're gonna try to keep growing this show. Working with the new, that's why we had the problem earlier today on the show, because we were in the private, the private environment instead of public, because we were working with the new software, which is, it's good. It's just, it was a little difficult to get the ins and outs of it, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
You know what? Just Deplorable. That's a correct name. That's a correct moniker you're going by. Because, maybe we should go to wherever this person lives and expand onto his property. Expand into his house or his domicile, his residence, and say it's in defense of our right to exist. And let's just do it non-violently, because violence seems to be the focus. Tell me one time they attacked anyone. It doesn't matter how you take something.
It is by force. You take
something for somebody, it's by force, or it is constitutes stealing or taking. Yeah, I can because it wasn't done in violence, which it actually was. Acting like it somehow makes it better. Like, I can steal something of yours without violence. That doesn't make it, like, justified. Come on, man. You're not being serious here, yo. You gotta, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you're choosing to approach this, but it's not a very...
In defense, whatever, man. He's gonna say the same thing.
What?
He's just gonna keep saying the same things, man.
I know. Well, damn, you can't call it now, but... Was she called in, man, or a woman?
Exactly, because it's better to communicate your position through voice rather than.
Because we lose a lot of context because you only have a certain amount of characters in the chat, so we understand. But I think we were clear even without having a lot of.
I mean, words. His handle is just deplorable. I mean, I understand that you're using that facetiously, but I know, still.
But you ain't got to live by that for real, for real. Damn.
All right, we're gonna get out of here, man. It was a full show today. Like I said, I wish we had some callers, but we'll have some callers the next time. I have an opportunity to do that. So the next show is gonna be on Thursday, the 26th, I believe, July. Man, we're coming up to August, man.
God, dog, man, that's crazy, man.
Kids gonna be back in school soon.
I know you're gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, well, one of them.
One of them, at least.
That'll be something. Time flies, man. Like I said, we're coming up on just 2 months before. No. Okay, hold on. Let me see. So we got August. We got September. We got October. So no, I think I said just a little under 3 months before the midterms, but we got a little bit over 3 months. A little bit over 3 months before the midterms. Maybe about 3.5 months or so. So it's coming on, man. It's coming on strong. So I saw a report saying that there was some kind of analysis saying that Dems are likely to take the House. I think it was like a report that said for the first time they assessed that they were going to take the House. I don't think it was a Democratic study or anything.
I was about to say, I was like, you think they're just feeding that to people?
Nah. Like I said, I think it was the first time. I guess this particular study said that they saw that the Democratic Party was going to take it. So, I mean, like I said, I think that's been a lot of the wisdom, I guess. I don't know if wisdom, but that's been the expectation from a lot of people that the Dems will take back the House. Now, will they take back the Senate? I don't know. I think they have a harder fight there. So, I don't know. We'll see. And even if they do take it, of course, they're going to be conservative members of the Democratic Party that are not voted in line with the Democratic Party, or I guess the usual, like your centrist Democrats or your progressive Democrats. They're going to be on the right hand, and they're going to be voting with Republicans. But I don't know. It's all coming up
like fake adversaries.
Yeah, man. Especially in the Senate, man, where it's like you got your what's his name? You got Donnelly. You got Heitkamp.
Manchin.
Manchin. Oh, Manchin. Who's a Republican? Manchin is a Republican. Whatever, though. But anyway, we're glad that you joined us for this program. And we have the next program, like I said, in just a couple days. Shout out to all of our guests, all 0 of you that called into the program. Thank you. But shout out to all the people that were busy in the chat, mixing it up with everybody else. Shout out to Gear Randon again for contributing to the stream. Contributing to the stream through the super chat, and shout out to all of our patrons on Patreon as well for being the lifeblood of LTMB. We thank you for your financial contribution to what we do. So with that, man, I'm done, man. It's like coming on 11:30.
Yeah, we went to like 12 last time.
Yeah, man.
But
I ain't trying to go to 12 all the time, man.
Y'all getting like some after dark, really.
Yeah, really you are, man, because really this is supposed to be like 2 hours flat. This really should be like it's supposed to be like 2 hours flat.
To the calls like at like 9:45.
Yup. maybe like 215, maybe something like that. But yeah, we be going long, man. But anyway, what's up, Terror Break? But anyway, yeah, like I said, everybody have a good night. Everybody have a good Wednesday, and we'll see you on Thursday. All right, peace out, everybody.